So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall.
Welcome everybody, thank you so much for being here. My name is 4x4. I am joined by a debutant on the LTA South co-stream, TDS. Brother, thank you so much for being here, man. Welcome, how you feeling?
I know, I'm excited. I was hoping to get in on this for a while now. Being kind of close to the region, I was always hoping to be part of this, and for the first time I get to be here and watch some of the teams here. I'm excited. I want to see the chaos. I want to see fighting. I also saw some slip-inducing games yesterday, but I hope it's just an occurrence. It's not the rule, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get great games today.
I hope so too, yeah. And starting off today, let's get the standings up on your screen so we can just recap sort of the results. Obviously the standings don't say much, just one game into the season, but the ones that walked away winners were more or less what you would expect, unless, of course, there are a couple surprises here, right? Isurus did fall to Pain Gaming. I think that one, look, those are our two best teams for my money, but Furia throwing that one away against, I guess, who was it at that point? It was Leviathan, right? And for me, TDS, you're a soccer fan, you will understand. Furia, for me, feel like the team that has the great underlying numbers, right? They have, they play tiki-taka, they have high possession, they have good fundamentals, they have high XG, but they don't have a clinical striker who could put away chances. And that, I fear, might be their undoing.
Yeah, I love the way you put it because it kind of makes me think like when you think about playing the passing style, it's like you need to go forward, and sometimes they tend to go way too sideways and not really complete what they wanted to do. And like you're mentioning, they need someone to finish everything off, and I think they have the potential there. It's just that they need to be more, how to put it, like more consistent in who they want to be that guy. And I think they have the tools. It's just that they need to find that time. Now, will they have the time to do it this split? That's a question mark. Because they have everything in place for power, but we just have to see if they have.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is going to be interesting, right? Because it is double round robin, or single round robin, excuse me, for the first 3 weeks to determine the standings. The tiebreakers will obviously be, well, did you beat the team that you were tied with? Because everyone will play everyone once, and then we'll get into groups. And then in those 2 4-team groups, you'll play everyone once, best of 3, full fearless, all that good stuff. And then that's how we will determine the playoffs. But to start things off, we do have Furia showing up here against Isurus Estral, another team that fundamentally very, very sound, but they kind of got their teeth kicked in by Pain Gaming. So let's stay on Furia for now. We'll bring up that roster for just a little bit and talk through kind of, the stars that they had, because IU, look, this dude, he is, I mean, I'm trying to think of another soccer analog. I should have thought of this beforehand. But someone who, I mean, he has shown so much promise for so long. But, and look, he's only, I think he's barely 20 years old. Like, he might not even be 20. When he burst onto the scene, he was 17. Went #1 on the EU West ladder, just kind of showed up, did it with one hand tied behind his back, and then just hasn't quite hit those heights. He had a good game on the Varus yesterday, but again, couldn't finish those chances. Gigo, Tatu, Tuts, IU, and Jojo. And Gigo is the one for me, TDS. You watched the game back. I mean, he was on the volley bear, was an unorthodox pick. He lost gracefully in lane, but he had some moments in the later game. Like, I mean, he's a high volatility player. We know this. And so when you talk about consistency, he's the one I'm kind of looking at.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised the way that yesterday's game played out, because like Gigo to me it started out quite nicely, but then had some moments where really like if he just controlled himself a little bit better, nothing would have happened and could have just completely have no impact in what the rest of the game looked for Furia. But apart from that, I agree. If he can be that kind of consistent player for the rest of the team, which I think he's able to with some of the picks that he probably will go for, then the rest of the team can try and play it out. Like you were mentioning IU, and now that they are showing it on the graphic, he is 19 years old, about to turn 20 years old. Thank you, RMC. I think he had a great game of the Barrows. The problem is that some of those situations where he was left kind of to dry in some of the fights, and also props to the other side because I think that they countered IU really, really well, and also the low mobility of the Varus. But I think that they could have played those situations a tad bit different, and we see a completely different result at the end as we're going immediately pretty much for the pick and bans, and we can see some of the desirable picks for some of these members.
Yeah, it will be the misfortune for IU. We'll see. I mean, look, that has kind of this wombo combo composition written all over it. You can grab your Rel, you can grab your Maokai right here early, but Tatu, it looks like again, the Skarner could be flex of support. I say that only because Jojo has done this support Skarner actually a couple times, was pretty good on it, but Tatu, I imagine, is going to take that into the jungle. But the Misfortune TDS, I mean, this is a pick that can take over games, but it can be hit and miss. And now the Camille, this is a pick we haven't seen in a little bit, but again, this is something that if you're reaching back way to kind of Red Gigo when he was on Red Canids in 2021, this is a pick that when it was in the meta, he was very comfortable on. He could take over games on.
Yeah, and I think against the Ambessa, it's not necessarily a choice that I would be against. Obviously, it's quite it's really skill dependent in some situations because the Ambessa and the Camille can get the better of each other. I would think the Ambessa has a little bit of favor in that situation, but in general, I'm not against it just because the lockdown that you're looking for with Camille is to follow up on that Misfortune that you were bringing up. Misfortune here is kind of the pivotal part with that ultimate, and the more lockdown you have, the better it's going to be for her ultimate to work through. So that's why I can see the Camille being in a position here to be picked, and then same for the Skarner. Now, with the remaining picks, though, obviously there's going to be focus into the mid and into the AD carry position. I think Varus could potentially be quite a nice choice for Azurus, because there's not that many other AD carries that can just have that much lockdown, and then also vary between poke and attack speed, which I think is probably fine for Azurus. And if they want a little bit more safety or a little bit more range, they can also go for the Jhin, which, with the amount of damage that they already have with the Ambessa, feels like completely fine in that situation.
Yeah, no, you could just kind of 100-0 someone, right, with the Ambessa, right, if she wants to do that. Miru going to be on the Ahri this time around, but it seems like TDS, they took a little bit of a page out of your book. I mean, banning away the Ashe, banning away the Ezreal, right, taking away some of that range and that long-range engage, but it will be the Kai'Sa instead, which, again, I would be stunned if you go AP Kai'Sa, especially with just the way that they've just gutted the AP ratio on that W, right, that poke Kai'Sa. It's still a part of her kit, but it's not this just, like, stupid, oppressive, game-breaking part of her kit anymore, which is good. It's a healthier champion design. I'm all for that. But you do have a little bit of range to be able to soften up, right? But you have a good amount of dive here as well, coming from Azurus Estro.
Yeah, and this is the thing about Misfortune, suffers the same fate as the Jinx and the Varus of the world. She's an immobile champion. If you get on top of her, more than likely she's going to die. So the more members you have on top of her, the easier it is going to be to kill her. And it's going to be quite an interesting attempt by Azurus here to just completely dump everything onto the Misfortune, get on top of her, kill her as much as possible, and even add on top. I was looking at that bard, would have been kind of a fun addition, but everything that can dive as well, it works out perfectly. So the Rakan finishing here, pretty good in general. Like, I think it's pretty straightforward what both teams are looking for. Furia
100%.
trying to set up that Misfortune, and Azurus trying to completely destroy that Misfortune. Like, it's the duality of it, but if it works out for either team, it's going to win you fights.
Yeah, no, like you said, the two compositions, what they want to do is pretty telegraphed. The ease of execution is a different story, and we can kind of talk about that if you want, kind of who has it easier. Because, again, you have great tools to set up, right? And I actually like the kind of Aurora pick here, right? Setting up that ultimate and leaving champions kind of locked into it and being like, look, you've got to deal with one of us here, right? You've got to either face off against me if you want to go against me. If you want to get out of the ultimate, obviously you can't. But, yeah, no, they should be interesting. But like you said, on the side of Azurus, a lot of dive. How do you see... We'll kind of talk about the team fight aspect of this in a second, and unfortunately, okay, the best you can remember, the way the lane matchups went, how do you see kind of this early game playing out? Because both of these junglers are junglers in the Sejuani and the Maokai, or not the Maokai, it's usually the other one on top of it, the Starter. Thank you, Brandon.
Yep.
Yes, they both want to impact and can impact lanes early. Where are you looking if you're either one of these junglers? Anything that catch your mind?
So realistically, I, as always, would think that top lane should be an island in this situation, because like we were talking before, it's a kind of a make or break game with the Misfortune. The Misfortune really sets up the pace of what you want to try and achieve if you're on the side of Furia, and in the same vein, Azurus understands that if the Misfortune is down, like, it's pretty difficult for the other team to try and come back effectively. That being said, I can also see them trying to put a little bit more pressure, particularly sending Jose Diodo up their top side to try and heal the Camilla as much as possible. Because if a Camilla is weak, like, her engage tools or her potential to try and lock down people becomes way less effective, and there's no real follow-up apart from that is Skarner and Alistar, but more so the Alistar. The Skarner kind of wants a setup before he wants to engage, comparatively to other junglers. So I just can't see them, if they dumpster the Camille early on, healing the Misfortune will become much easier eventually because she has no real escape tools apart from the Flash. On the other side though, it's all Misfortune. Like, if Misfortune gets ahead, it's going to be easier for her to just completely demolish people with one good ultimate.
Yeah, I like what you said about the Camille there, right? That does feel like the other kind of... It's a two-headed monster, right, essentially, for for Furia. Now, the Aurora is a bit of a wild card, right? I mean, Toots, he is someone who, he's had an up and down journey in the league. He won what we call the COVID Cup, right? The 2020 Split 1 championship in Brazil with Kaboom back in the day. But since then, he played for Flamengo when they had a team up in the top division. Now they're down in the second division. Kind of bounced out of the league, was in Tier 2 for a while, just destroyed Tier 2, and came back up, and he's been wonderful. Actually, a father of 2 kids, despite being like 23. So, good on you. Tut's been staying busy in his time in Tier 2. But this is a guy that mechanically, he is really, really strong. He, you know, I mean, I wouldn't call Ari like this insanely mechanical champion, but you have like the outplay potential, right? He has something like the Akali in his back, so something like the Aurora, where, I mean, you really have to. I'm looking at this laning for this Aurora because if you miss a couple of your abilities early on, right, they can be so oppressive. But boy, oh boy, I mean, you really have to be intentional with how this champion works. Otherwise, you just kind of become a traffic cone.
Yeah, you want to have as much value as possible with your positioning in some of these situations. I like the area against I always forget her name, Aurora matchup, because Aurora, like this is not necessarily a mechanically intense matchup, but the way that both of these champions work, one great trait is kind of like half your health bar. So like it can really impact every sort of situation or movement that you go for the map. And as soon as you hit level 6, that also impacts whoever you're going to go gank. So it's kind of a fun dynamic that we end up seeing. And the top players that you see all around the world with the Ahri, every situation that they get ahead, like they immediately move out to try and get something in the map. And they usually achieve it. Same from the Aurora. So I'm excited to see how both of these mid laners will pull it off. And then looking at already trading up here in the top lane, the other player that we have to kind of put our eyes on has to be Gigo. With what happened yesterday, I think he has to have a bounce back performance today.
Yeah, and it's going to be tougher into an Asuras Estral team that, I mean, you know, they don't really make a ton of mistakes. Again, they kind of got waxed by Pain, but I think, again, the takeaway I came away with was that I give more credit to Pain than I do Flame to Asuras. Because also, I mean, oh my gosh, Bertel already blew his flash. So Gigo already took away Bertel's flash. Just kind of looking up at the summoners. That's fantastic. Yeah, and I mean, again, you know, both these champions, they've taken the grass. Both these champions in the mid lane go in electrocute, which I was a little surprised by. I mean, not for like the champions themselves, but just, I don't know, both these champions mean business, right? They know the role that they have to play, being that AP carry threat, right, with the mixed damage coming through kind of from both sides here. But yeah, no, I think, oh gosh, I had a point I was going to make, and then I lost it because I sidetracked myself.
The flash?
Yeah, no, yeah, before that's how I sidetracked myself. Oh, goodness. Okay, well, that's all right. No, but look, in the bottom lane, right? Or no, I got it. Yeah, Gigo, perfect. He absolutely has to have a bounce back performance here because with this Camille, again, this is a champion that he's very, very comfortable on. And I think the role that he's going to play into a composition like, I mean, you have the Kai'Sa and the Ahri, right? These are two very mobile champions, right? You talk about how immobile the Misfortune is, how you're taking the flash. On the opposite side, just JoJo takes a big old trade. Ackerman and Snake are taking advantage of the level 3 early here, right? Snaker and Miru on the Kai'Sa and the Ahri, they can get away very quickly. And the Camille, Camille ultimate is the perfect answer to that. So it places so much more value on that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, it's pretty easy to try and control them. As we see a little bit of a move here by Jose Dioto, by the way. Just quickly wanted to point out, both junglers went the opposite directions that I was kind of thinking. But because of the way that the lane states are currently, I don't think there's going to be...
Oh, my goodness.
Was close.
That was really, really close. Yeah, that true damage hurts on the way back in. I was a little surprised that Jose Dioto didn't kind of gank from that Raptor pit.
I thought he was going to go behind, yeah.
Yeah, that's like Sejuani's favorite place to gank. Now, it's easier when you have that level 6, right? You just dash over, ult, and just, you know, blind kind of 100 to 0 them. So maybe that was his thinking there. But he does get a good deep ward down, so he's able to track Tatu a little bit more. He got the back down, yeah, so grabbed the Giant's Belt on his way out. But Tuts sticking around here, thanks to a little bit of help from his friends. Miru burning the TP first, but Tuts is going to burn that right back in response. And on the other side, Bertel having to burn the TP here early as a lane swap comes in here, TDS, prioritizing those grubs early on.
Yeah, we've seen almost every team do that whenever they have the push, whenever they have the early advantage, they tend to move around. The thing, though, is that Bertel did have to blow his teleport, where Geigo didn't need to do that at all. He just goes down there as the Camille walks comfortably, and now teleport advantage for Furia. If there's any play that they want to try and pull off, they will now have a little bit of an advantage thanks to that teleport advantage that they will have. Now, gauge potential, nice cancel though, and the drop priority can mean two things. Either you want to try and focus turret taking, or you want to force a fight. And both of those things are good, it's just you have to realize what your priority is going to be with that.
Ackerman able to barely catch Ayu, or excuse me, Jojo, I guess it was, as Gigo and Birdall take their talents to the south part of the map. First dragon spawning, it is that Hextech dragon, but like you said, TDS, it looks like they are trying to, I mean, look, well, actually, I'll put it to you this way.
What's that?
In top lane, should a fight around Grubs break out, who do you favor? I mean, look, it doesn't look like either of the bottom laners are going to hit level 6. Miru and Touch should be at level 6, but other than that, I mean, if a fight were to break out, how do you see it going? Who do you give the early skirmishing power to?
So just because they do have the teleport advantage, I think Furia will have an edge, because at any point you have to think that there's probably going to be a 5v4 or a 4v4 turns into a 5v4, and that immediately means that you're not going to have any advantage. Now, Tuts needs to be careful here. He does still have the flash and the ultimate, but that's why I think as long as Furia played it out slowly or accordingly to what the situation gives, I think they should have the advantage. As level 6 for Birtle, though.
Yeah, that might be big here. Gigo does hit level 6 just in time. Someone's going to die here. Who's it going to be? Able to sidestep the public execution. No, actually clipped him on the side there. Gigo not committing the ultimate as the pots are popped, and he doesn't think he can get away with that one. So after all that, but Gigo also held on to both his summoners. I mean, it makes sense he held on to teleport, but didn't blow his flash, and now we've got a potential scuffle here around the top side of the map on the Grubs. Yep, Furia, like you said, with that 4v3 advantage, unless Snaker can get in there immediately. Miru popping right back out. Jose Diodo stuck in between two worlds. Get the Ignite taken down on him. He should go down. There's a very, very thick Sejuani. He's waiting for the Q to come back up off cooldown. Tantu has to flash away. Finally, first blood going over to Ayu. Miru taken very, very low. Has to flash out of the pit. Ayu taken low as well, but Tantu finds him, and with one well-placed auto is able to take him down. But on the other side, Snaker trading to kill again as every summoner in the book is blown. Tuts will be the sacrificial lamb. Come on, Tantu and I, you gotta get something out of this. They do. Double kill comes over for Ackerman in the meantime, or double for Snaker, excuse me, in the meantime. A 4 for 2 after all that for Furia.
Hilarious bounce, by the way, there by the Misfortune, killing the Kai'Sa with the bounce on the Rakan. But huge fight. And the situation here, it all comes down to a lot of mechanical plays that Furia pulled out perfectly, but also this. Position advantage. 4 members already in the Grubs. Kai'Sa coming down by herself on the top side means that she needs to reposition herself by a lot of the things that she needs to commit there. Jose surviving for so long, but then here, Snaker pretty much comes with almost no mana, no health, just auto-attacking here onto the Skarner, which is quite tanky. And then this re-engage by Jojo is beautiful. Another 3-man pull knock-up, which means that the continuation of the team fight is much easier to pull off. Snaker does a really good job at trying to collect whatever is left for himself, but with all that he committed, the only way out is fighting. And sadly, he doesn't have the members to be able to follow him back there. And even though I was trying to look into what the top laners may do, at the end, it's just a 4v4 that Furia plays out better. It started with top lane fighting, it ended with nobody dying down there, and instead everybody dying in the top side.
Just how we all thought, right?
Yeah.
But crucially, almost all of these kills have gone into the pockets of the AD carries. Ayu with 3 kills and an assist. He is feeling really good right now. But again, TDS, like we talked about, getting your Misfortune fed is all well and good, but with this composition, the setup for the ultimate is where you're going to get the most value. So we still have yet to see that, but now that he's hit level 6, he's got the cleanse, no flash, but still has the cleanse, leading everyone in total gold, as you see on the left side of your screen there. Tatu, 100% kill participation, right? 1 kill, 3 assists. As he makes a trip down towards the bottom lane, we might get more fighting down there. Both ultimates back up here, though Gigo thinks he can win out this one. Birtle in a little bit of trouble here if he can get one more. Q has to flash away from the W. So another successful trade for Gigo. So far, so good.
Yeah, so far being able to put pressure onto Birtle, really not allowing the ambassador to do as much as she wants. And now, nice sidestep. Pretty comfortable. Nothing much to see there. But like you were mentioning before, as a Snaker.
Yeah, he might be in a little bit of trouble. The stun actually lands kind of a little bit too late on the outside, but no ultimates blown. He did get the... No flashes. No, it was just the... the ultimate blown defensively by Snaker there. That's what that was. But Ayu, they're not going to be able to get so much out of this. The Scuttle Crab is down, but they do have the push to be able to potentially start up this dragon. Let's see, though. Jose Diodo hovering on that side of the map. Jojo taking an interesting angle here onto Ackerman, but he will take a tower shot. And that'll be all she wrote.
I like the way that they were playing that, trying to force as much health bars down as possible, because now they have 100% position advantage for the dragon as Mirror has to ulti away. And yeah, this means that dragon should be 100% theirs. That being said, it's going to be quite a late dragon when you think about it. 10 minutes in, first dragon hasn't gone down.
Oh man,
Oh,
Tatu.
Ackerman.
Yeah, that's a greedy recall spot. Brother has to blow the ultimate, but will not find its mark. Yeah, that's recon things for you. But good job on Snaker for staying within range, right, to be able to bail him out. But that could have been ugly.
Yeah, it could have been just a couple of seconds before he actually backed away there. That could have meant the death of Ackerman. That being said, nothing happens. It's just 2 plays for the Misfortune and the Dragon here. Now, there is going to be a timer where there's no Skarner ultimate that maybe Zurus can try and take advantage of with Jose Diodo ultimate, that it's going to come back up. But the fact that they have not gone top lane at all against the Camille, that can try and escape, but you can also try and kill really effectively, or trying to force a little bit more onto Toots, means that they are maybe trying to wait just for the perfect setup to try and kill IU down there in the bot lane.
Yeah, and it's funny because, I mean, with the flash still down, right, I guess you assume that they're keeping track of their flashes, but you'd like to think so. I mean, Misfortune isn't all that hard to kill, right? You have a ton of CC. I mean, with Sejuani and Rakan alone, I mean, my goodness. I mean, you set up so easily for that charm to land, for the public execution to land, right? So that the tools are there. But Furia, you know, I guess... And this is where maybe, you know, if I would have been paying a little more attention to kind of where the vision is and what the timings were, right, you could break down whether that's more on Furia not allowing them to take that space, or whether that's Asurus not taking that space themselves. But we might get a scuffle here as Bertol grabs his Eclipse. He's going to TP immediately in. Gigo read him like a book. Jojo gets jumped on immediately. That is fantastic. Jose Diodo and Ackerman, they're going to be able to get there in time. Bertol trying to buy a little bit of time. He doesn't have the flash to be able to escape. There goes the bullet time. Get everything on the back of Bertol, but Ackerman takes enough shots. Somehow Bertol's still alive, but Tatu able to get the kill. Flashing forward with the Impale, using it on cooldown. That window without the Skarner ult did not last a long time. Ackerman has to blow the ultimate and the heal to get out of dodge.
It didn't last long enough, but it is now going to be a window with no flash for Tatu. That being said, instant engage as soon as he saw the Bertol teleport, and this comes from having better positioning, because they have more control, more pushing waves, more advantage with the members already in position. It's so easy to follow up on them, and Fury is playing this out really, really well. It's going to be 5 probs in their favor. The turret going to be taken down a little bit more, not going to be the full turret, but more plates in favor of Gigo. And this Camille will now become a serious issue. We were talking about how the Misfortune looks to be the main threat of the composition, but now Camille is at a spot where she can also 100 to 0 snake her really effectively. We need to remember what that Q true passive damage is going to do to Kai'Sa later on. So that's also another threat to consider.
No, I agree with you, right? I mean, but this is how you want it to play out, right? And again, we've seen this from Furia. Their mid games. Well, I guess we're not in the mid game just yet. Tuts pops the W, goes into the Spirit Realm. Gosh, and that's what you were saying, right? About these early trades, right? Once you get a full item going, if you get one combo, that wasn't even a combo, that was just one ability. But if he's able to get the damage out, Aurora can do so much.
She also 100 to 0 people really effectively.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
excited to see that later on. Interesting adaptation, by the way, on the build. Most of the time we see the ultimate item instead, the Malignance, instead of the Hexagon Blade, or Hexagon. But in comparison, this is going to mean that she's going to have a little bit more burst potential.
Yeah, no, a lot more upfront damage, and I mean, that's fair enough, right? You've got the Kai'Sa, such a high-priority target, and the Ahri, to be fair, as well, right? Not going to do too much just yet, right? The Roa is still on 1 stack. Everyone and their mother is building this item after the changes. This is a really, really popular item in the mid lane now. So it is going to be tougher, right? But you're going to get a lot more defensive stats. But look, all the damage in this composition is coming from the Kai'Sa, right? This composition is designed for lockdown, yes, to help out the Misfortune, but like we were sort of alluding to, it can double as lockdown onto Snaker, and you need that because it is such a slippery champion. Has the flash, didn't take the cleanse to be fair, but with the barrier as well, should be able to get a little more survivability. On the bottom of your screen, you saw the gold, the turret plating gold, excuse me, being taken there. So Furia, like you said, gotten a little bit more of that, and all of that has gone into the pocket of Gigo, who is still even with Bertol thanks to the magical footwear rune, but maybe looking like they're setting something up here. Yeah, a lot of on my way pings coming down here. Gigo is level 11. He's trying to make it Bertol's problem. Let's see if they can set up this dive. Bertol's doing a decent job of thinning out the wave. Not going to be a cannon wave coming up just yet. Jojo looking to go in here. Bertol kind of backing off. TP coming down. Ackerman joining from the side. Glacial Prison will slow things down just a little bit, but the tower will go down. Ackerman going in. It's a numbers disadvantage. We got an all-out brawl in the top lane. Impale lands there onto Miru, and Tatu goes down. Took too much damage coming up. Fighting without Snaker. That was a bold choice. Gigo punishes them for it.
Yeah, Gigo is doing such a good job at this. They saw the teleport coming in, instantaneously trying to engage, and then as soon as Mirror pops the ultimate, just engages with the Camille ultimate as well. Really, really, really well done. They are understanding that they have the advantage. They have the numbers advantage there in that situation, and also that Bertel is not in a good spot. So he cannot even be a force to try and threaten anyone. Like, he has to wait and see what the rest of the team can try and accomplish for. But they take down the turret, so you already take down one defensive mechanism that the side of Isurus has, and then when the initial engage comes through, Eco just tanks it, doesn't matter for him, and they just wait their time. They have the advantage here. Ackerman's engage is not that great, and they just follow up pretty effectively. The engage from the side of Isurus is just simply lacking, because apart from the fact that they were just 4 members, they don't have enough damage to follow up, and it didn't go into a priority target. It wasn't IU. It was the Aurora that has multiple ways to try and escape, so that's why it doesn't even accomplish anything more.
Yeah, Toots on the Aurora, very happy, just saying, all right, you want to go in on me? Watch this. And they execute that very, very beautifully. Yeah, played backwards pretty nicely there. Like you said, not the best of engages. And again, I kind of mentioned offhand, but fighting without Snaker as well, right? You don't have that consistent damage threat, right? You have like a very kind of hitting your skill shots dependent. Tatu and Jose Deodo, you see the graphics coming through there. Look, it's been a great game for Tatu. 100% kill participation by him. I mean, really good stuff from him. He's one of our shining young prospects. Spent last year down in tier 2, came up as, not like, superstar level, but like, no, this dude can hang, right? Even if the teams are going down to 8 teams, even if only 6 of them are Brazilian compared to 10 last year, this guy is more than deserving of a spot. Jojo buying some time there with the Unbreakable. Good headbutt. Getting on to Jose Deodo. I almost bonked him into IU, to be fair, but he's just getting ripped through right now. The Impale going to buy so much time, but the knockup actually cancels that ultimate from IU. Luckily, the Glacial Prison finds absolutely nobody. Going right in is Tuts, or Bertel onto Tuts, excuse me. Jose Deodo surviving by the skin of his teeth. It looked good there for Furia for a bit, but it ends up in disaster.
Yeah, but there goes to show the way that the composition from Isurus is designed to cancel IU. He was in a perfect spot for the ultimate, actually put it off, but Ackerman held ultimate. That means that as soon as he engages in, ultimate from Misfortune gets cancelled. IU can barely do anything after that, and if he goes far forward, guess what? He dies. So Tuts ends up paying the price for that with his life, but that's the counter engage, and finally a good show of what Isurus composition can really do. Will it work out once again? We're not sure, because we don't know how the rest of the team fights are going to go, but at the very least for this time, it worked out really good. It's going to be a trade of objectives. Second Dragon means that we're not going to probably see a solo at all this game, because it's not only Second Dragon, but it's also going to be Dragon apiece for both sides. So I'm not expecting a solo at all this game.
No, it will be a Chemtech Soul should it come to pass, but still Furia with a 4,000 gold lead here early at only the 18-minute mark. This is still a very, very juicy lead. On the bottom left, you see Vivo Cage Stars getting ready to take on, I believe, Leviathan, if I've memorized the schedule correctly, next game, but we will have that for you, and the rest of the games. TDS will be joining me for that one. No, it's Cade versus Red. Ooh, that should be, there's a lot of bad blood between those teams. And then, to round the day off, Fluxy W7M versus Leviathan, and of course, Loud versus Pain. And of course, we will have RMC on for that one, so I can watch him squirm. It's my favorite thing. Harold goes right into that mid-tier 1, and Jojo going immediately in, falling up onto Gigo, absolutely rips through Ackerman, and now they've got no way into this fight unless Jose Deodo finds a miracle ultimate, smites away Shelly. Very heads-up play there from Jose Deodo, but they do break open that mid-tier 1. 4 towers to 0. TDS, I mean, Furia, we've seen them in these good mid-game positions before, i.e. literally just yesterday, but again, who's going to be that clinical striker, that number 9, that fox-in-the-box poacher, to put the ball in the back of the god-darn net?
Yeah, we need to see who is going to close it out. So far, though, I'm liking Gigo's game, and I can see him being one of the main reasons why Fury ended up pulling off here. Now, they need to also, like they're being controlled so far, taking down the turrets, they need to be controlled in how they want to set up those fights. They cannot have a repeat of yesterday's game where IU was just simply unable to play the game in the teamfight situations. I do think it's going to be much easier because Yone is one thing, the rest of the other champions are another.
Yeah.
But it's still something you have to take into account as Toots maybe engage here, but he still has ulti.
Yeah, should be. Oh, he just sidestepped right into it! Jose Deodo read him like a book! He shot it just behind him, knew the ultimate was going to come out. Toots has no flash, he has no recourse. He is doing a sneaky amount of damage, though. But he will go down eventually. 4,500 gold lead still for Furia. Like you said, TDS, you'd like to think that again, this composition is easier to play into, right, for Furia, given how important IU is, and given that Gigo seems to have his carry pants on this game. And I think it's just going to be about can they stay cohesive, right? Because some of the ideas that Gigo had last game, yesterday, some of the ideas were bad. Some of the ideas were okay, but they weren't coordinated, right? And so
exactly
that's what it's going to come down to in this one, because Gigo on this Camille, he is deadly. This is one of his favorite champions. He hasn't gotten a ton of room to pull it out in the last couple of years, but he really knows his way around this champion. She hasn't gotten many changes in the last 3 years. It's just, little buffs here and there, other champions in the top lane becoming more or less meta, but they still have tools to be able to get onto IU, and that's the important thing.
It's kind of the same thing with Orianna, where she doesn't really get hit or nerfed. It's just that things happen around her and she comes back into the game consistently.
Exactly.
And that for Camille works out the same way. Especially players, one thing that you can consistently see is that even if they don't get buffs, players just love champions, particularly for certain reasons. And Camille is one of those. That doesn't matter what happens, who plays it, or what the changes in the game are. They love Camille as far as your top lane. And that it makes sense that we're seeing her back here, as there's a little bit of a setup up there in the top side. They are trying to set up some vision if they have the possibility for it, especially also because Gigo did use teleport before, so now he has to spend more time closer to this Atakan. That it's the next big objective.
And that Atakan, I think teams are getting a slightly better handle on just how long it takes to take that thing down, right? You're not just blindly starting it like we saw a lot of teams do in Split 1 and be surprised by how long it takes. The fact that it shreds your armor and MR. You can't just kind of, pick this up like a scuttle crab. This thing is a commitment. And they're able to clear out a lot of that red side vision, but the little that is left, there's that far side alteration. Azurius know that they're there, and with the right setup, with the right angle, they could be a positive fight here for them. Bertel not there though, so he might be he'd have the TP if he wants to join this fight up. Ackerman fighting tons, he's able to W himself over the wall. Gigo popping the Scryer's Bloom, gonna get a little bit more vision and doing a good job with Jojo and Tatu bodyguarding for everyone. It's a pretty clean Atakan take, all things considered, for Furia. And now Tatu, 1,000 miles an hour, he's going forward here. Furia might not be done just yet. They got the Atakan, but they want blood. Now a little bit separated here. Tatu has the ultimate, has the flash, can get an engage on if he wants to, but not willing to go full bore for it. I think they're just kind of wasting time here to give Gigo time.
Look at top.
Yeah,
exactly. They have enough time now to allow Gigo to push here. They have to run away. Miro has no ultimate now, so if they also want to engage here with the extra buff, they can go for it, and they want to go for it.
Where did Gigo come from? He took the easy route, the bullet time over the top. It's just too easy. And with the blessing of Atakan, you can take those riskier tower dives. They do give over 400 gold. Bertel going in here now with the re-engage. All the frontliners are down here. TDS, this could be ugly. IU, he's getting aggressed on. Joel's that much health, but Tuts has enough damage to be able to take down one. Snacker goes down, and Ozadiota has to flash away finally. So they give over the 400 gold, but they get 4 kills in return.
Yeah, you can take your 400 gold. We'll take your turrets. We'll take your kill. We'll take the kills. We'll take your jungle in the middle as well, and maybe a dragon just as an extra. IU didn't even die, so gets to keep the blessing or curse, however you want to put it.
Yeah, sure. I don't know.
And then here's the engage. And like we were mentioning, they were wasting time so that Gigo can come in from the side. He already had the push. Even the middle as well, the turret was taking damage. And then even though Bertel teleports in, because they won't realistically die, it's not going to be a big problem. IU does flash to reposition away, which I will be honest, I don't like that flash just because, like, semantics, because then later on in a fight where he doesn't have that curse, maybe it's going to be more impactful. But they end up winning the fight here. They can get a little bit more push, and that means that they will get more and more gold. As we see live, dude's trying to escape. Oh, he's dead, probably.
No, I think so too. More gold going into the pockets of Azurius Estra, but again, just another 200. And when you've got this big of a lead, I mean, it really is just pocket change, right? And when you've got the map so pushed up, 5 towers, it becomes so difficult for Azurius to find a way back into this one. And actually, I mean, I like that re-engage, right? When the 2 frontliners went down, you go, look, that's just an ultless, that's just a JoJo with no ult there, right? Yeah. You could actually get something off the back of that. And you did blow his flash as well, so a high value fight there for Azurius, but at the end of the day, it might just be too little too late. Another dragon going down here, this one in favor of Furia, so 2-1 on that front. The Atakan buff wearing off now. Baron will be where the next battle lines are drawn. TDS, I mean, Furia, they've done a good job of kind of, you know, of playing the vision game, but IE, they're not a team that are going to take anything lying down. It's hard to see, though, how they find a way back into this one. It does feel like Furia would have to shoot themselves in the foot.
Well, we've seen that happening for a lot of teams all around, so I will never discredit that from anyone. But I think
Fair.
Furia are playing it really well enough, and I think yesterday's experience probably means that they are going to be a little bit more controlled because they
You
don't
would
want to
hope
give
so.
anything up randomly. Yeah, exactly. As a Snaker,
Oh
engaged
my
on.
goodness. Gigo taking some
Look at the
cheeky
back.
angles. He gets right onto Snaker. That is so
Ooh.
much damage. Went exactly how they wanted it to. The ball
I
time
used
goes
it
out. It was
alive.
not a great ultimate. Has to cleanse out. Doesn't have that flash, but the rest of the gang is there to help out their 19-year-old prodigy AD carry. Gigo flashes forward with another big old Q. Takes a Cho'Gath ult-sized bite out of Jose Deodo. Another 4 for 0. They're just slapping them with their wallets here, TDS.
And this may probably be game. They have a wave in the mid lane. There's only the Rakan. He can do so much. And even if a Snaker comes back here, they still have tools to just lock down the AD carry and kill the Nexus. It's going to be potentially a Furia victory, and love the way that they executed on that. But as they are pushing, they want to end the game right now.
Well, they're certainly going to get a lot out of this. Yeah, I mean, the respawn timers are so long. Just wail on the Nexus. They have the tools, like you said. Birtle going forward, just body blocking for everybody. IU and company will help take down the Nexus. 11,000 gold difference. Tatu letting them know who the boss is, as Furia get a much, much, much needed bounce back win. Extremely excited for that one. I mean, TDS, Furia needed that so badly. Just a clean win. There's always this, you know, and rightfully so. They've gotten this label because we praise them so much on some of their off the field stuff, on their macro, their coaching, right? How they've invested in kind of a good balance of veterans versus young talent. But they've never kind of crossed the finish line. And look, there's a lot of split to go still. But this, against a solid team like Isurus Estral, this is exactly what they needed. This is a very, very good showing from Furia.
Yeah, exactly. They went in really, really well, had a clear game plan, and they executed on that really, really effectively. And at the end, like, we saw how well they read the situations as well, because they killed the priority target on the other side, and then they didn't let their AD carry die. Kind of a situation that happened yesterday a lot, where yes, they kind of read a situation partly right, but then IU is dead, and then everything kind of collapses on the side, and you don't know what's going to happen. And today, much better performance, much better execution, much better cohesion as a team, it felt like, and took advantage of, like you're mentioning, a team that was expected to be much higher up in the rankings than them.
Yeah, I mean, and this, look, you've played two of the better teams in the league for Isurus Estral, right? But they kind of dog walked the league in Split 1. I mean, they looked so much better than everybody else. Actually, let's pull up our Gringos Liberados tier list. This was the expectation coming out of Split 1. And again, Split 1 is a very small sample size, but Isurus Estral were far and away the best team. So this is our expectation of, okay, where do we think everybody's going to end in Split 2? Isurus Estral made no changes to a very successful formula. They dog-walked Split 1, and now they sit 0-2 here, again, against Pain and Furia, which, according to us, are also the second and third best teams in the league, right?
Exactly.
But still, I think the manner of the defeats is the more concerning part, right? It's just like the game happened to them. It feels like, for the most part. There were a couple of bright moments, but they felt it was just suffocating.
Exactly. It's like the manner that you lose in, it's also representative of what we should expect from you in some situations. And I do think that Estral had their good moments. Isurus Estral had their good moments, but for most of it, it felt like they were at whatever the opponent dictated, compared to them dictating something and then falling apart because of that. And that is also props to the other teams, right? To Fury and PNG. Like, they did a good job at that. Like, they did a good job at trying to cancel out the strengths from Isurus Estral and taking full advantage out of all the situations. But now we need to see the counterpart. Like, does this mean that this is going to be the form from Isurus Estral going forward? Or is this just an anomaly and they are going to be able to play better against the other teams? Because we did need to remember that there is no more lane swaps anymore. There is no more like certain champions that were in the meta. And now we need to also think, were they reliant on that to be that dominant?
Yeah, no, and that's fair, right? This was a pretty seismic shift, right? The lane swaps, you know, probably the cherry on top of that. A lot of change between Split 1 and Split 2 in the meta. Nefiri, I mean, I didn't catch the red game yesterday, but Doom with a 607 debut on the Nefiri. Oh my goodness. Woo! That is hot. Speaking of Isurus Estral, their next two games are against Fluxu W7M and Cade. Look, you have to win one of those games, and you should win both. That is your bounce back opportunity there. You got punched in the mouth. Great. How do you respond? And coming up next, we do have Doom and Red against Vivo Cade Stars. We're going to take a quick break and come back with that one. Don't go anywhere.
So hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, or we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of the world that we defy. A solo ride of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last light.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being here. 4x4 TDS back with you for game 2 of 4 of this first section of the split, the single round robin best of 1. Coming up next, we've got Cade versus Red. Let's pull up the roster for Revo Cade Stars, talk about them a little bit. They took the game against Fluxo W7M, which was the expected result yesterday, but it wasn't exactly the cleanest. From what I saw, this team has a lot of potential, I think it's fair to say, and that's what they're banking on. Bull, who's been, he's Mr. Yo-Yo himself, goes up and down from the first and second divisions. DeSamis, an MVP caliber year last year. Kissy came from OS, has, I think, been to Worlds, if I'm not mistaken. I should have double-checked that before I just start lying on the internet. Morteus, a very high ceiling, high promise AD carry. And Trimby, LEC champion with Rogue back in 2022. Looking to start the next chapter of his career in Brazil, I guess. TDS, very high potential team. It wasn't exactly clean yesterday, but they're gonna have to play at their best. They've got a tough opponent ahead of them in Red.
Yeah, exactly. Like, technically speaking, like you're mentioning, this is a potential-based roster where the potential is there. They need to culminate that, and I think they have the tools to try and pull it off. So far, yesterday there were some certain mistakes that they can clearly correct, but I think overall, in general, for a first game, they did a pretty good job. They found the advantages that they needed to, and they played it out really, really well. The points of focus, like I think they need to go with, has to be playing through what Trimby probably wants to try and do all around the map, because he has been a LEC champion for a reason, and he has been to Worlds for a reason. I think he's one of the smarter LEC supporters you can find out there as well. And then also, even though Kise did go to the to Worlds, and he is an OC player, technically speaking. Like, he had a great, I think, year when he was in the second division, and I think he has played really well to try and prove himself to be up here. Now, team needs to find that ground, needs to try and prove themselves that they are not just potential, but they are going to eventually find that actual culmination of their talent. But it needs to come off of a win against a team that already surprised in the form of Red Canids.
Yeah, with Doom and Mago. Last split, for those of you that don't know, Red Canids, the two-time champions before the Loud Dynasty took over. It was Aegis and Grevthar in the mid-jungle, and that was the duo that they won with. They went away from that for a couple of years, and then they came back last year and were within a stone's throw of making it to the next round of the playoffs. They've gotten to so many Game 3s and Game 5s, but Doom coming up from the second division. Mago, he's an interesting case. He was kind of the next big thing in Brazil, or at least supposed to be. Had to take some time off from pro play due to personal reasons. He hasn't actually played competitive League of Legends since 2021. It has been a long time. It has been a long time, but he ended a Tier 2 champion when he did play in Tier 2, so he clearly has that potential. He's bootcamp some in Korea. He's a very high mechanic AD, or mid laner, which is the shift that we are seeing, kind of, towards, that Brazil wants to go towards. Mago picking up the Ezreal there for Brunsey, Mr. Bot Gap himself, and on the other side, drafting kind of in order. The Gwen B1, we saw that in day 1 as well, and with the Neferi banned away, they're not going to let Doom touch that at all.
Now, when you already perform with an Fury, it feels like most teams want to try and shy away from it. There's teams that leave it open just because they think that they can counter it, but I think most of the time that doesn't pan out that effectively unless you're already a much superior team than the other side.
Yeah.
So for the remaining bans, though, focus towards top side makes complete sense, and then AD carries as well with Ezreal out. I think obviously the Barriers, the Ashe, and the Misfortune were the other potential champions that you can look into. Maybe the Corki as well has been one of those options that has safety to try and run away, but also a good amount of poke and damage come mid game, and can follow up really well to some of the engaged potentials that some are looking for. And then I want to see this Gwen, how it's going to perform, because it is a hyper carry, but it does have the matchups that are going to be quite difficult for her, and that you have to be careful about how you try and play around it.
We'll see whether she does go against the Aurora or not. We'll see what Red Canids want to pull up on the other side, but leaving that Aurora flex open. But yeah, on the other side, drafting pretty much in order. Those positions are more or less locked in. Brunson going to be on the Ezreal. We'll see what Mago wants to pull out here. Like he said, a lot of focus on the AD carry pool, taking away the Jinx, taking away the Jhin, excuse me, taking away the Ashe as well. Ahri going to be taken away as well. So didn't want that Jax either. I'd say that's I guess I don't know for sure, but it seems like one of the stronger matchups just because he likes to be kind of up in close quarters, can cancel out those really deadly autos with the Counter-Strike. So it makes sense they want to take that one away. Let's see what they leave for R5. Mago on the Akali. This is what we wanted to see. Young man against a team that, again, you should beat. But Kissy is a really tough cookie. He is a tough opponent to crack and going to be on another very high mechanic playmaking champion on the One.
Yeah, skill checkup matchup in the mid lane, Yoni against Akali, going to be a fun one in how they will try and just outplay the other side. Ultimate value is going to be really high to kill AD carries this game, and then potentially to follow up on that, having the Kai'Sa. So a little bit of a similar idea when coming in from the previous game, where you have champions that will want to dive in and you want to kill the enemies in the backline. That is going to be Mago and potentially the Aurora, or sorry, Mago no, the Ezreal and the Aurora as well, potentially, and trying to see how quickly you can burn them down. But everyone picked in order. And maybe to close it out, an Nautilus here, just because like engage potential, follow up, or Leona as well could be. No, it's going to be the Rakan. Pretty consistent, pretty confident, pretty similar to the previous composition from the previous game, and we're going to have to see how it works out.
I was going to say, this is like the exact same idea, right, from the composition last
Bar
game that
Mbessa.
Isura's traded. Yeah, bar the Mbessa, exactly. The Yone, right, it can really get onto your backline very, very easily. You've got a couple of slippery customers to be able to get to, right? Aurora is shifty, Ezreal obviously really shifty, Akali very mobile, can throw down the Shroud, delay a lot of that dive. So I like what Red have drafted in response, but as a cohesive composition, right? This is just a team that, and if you see it differently, please say so, right? If you're seeing something that I'm not, this does feel like Red's just going to, I mean, this is a lot of just kind of high octane and just like we're just going to try to beat you over the head with damage sort of composition. Like in the mid game, this composition is going to be absurd.
I actually like the way that you're saying. It's kind of like trying to like just thinking about a wall, and the way to pass that wall is just I'm going to brute force the wall until it falls down, or I die trying. And I feel like that's a perfect example of just how they want to play this game out. And it can work out. Hey, this sort of composition has been played multiple times throughout the League of Legends history, and it works out. The thing is that the same way that it works out, it can completely blow in your face. So we need to see them playing effectively with their champions. I think a lot of this game is going to bank on what Doom is able to find in the early stage of the game, how many ganks he can pull off, how many situations can he leave Mago and FNB with an advantage, and then from that, try and see what he's able to accomplish. As we see the new graphic, quite lovely actually.
Yeah, very nicely done. That's our producer Rose just cooked that one up. Just, you know, out of the goodness of their own heart. Again, we are all doing this for free. So if you like what you're seeing, please, you know, follow our channel, sub if you are able to, join our community Discord as well. We can get those links going as well. Our community manager Superbren in the chat as always. Can put some of those links in for you. Again, every content creator, every podcast you've ever heard, you know, hit that like and subscribe. It really does help. It's because it really does help, especially because, again, we are doing this for the love of the game, because we love this region, and we have for a long, long time. For the majority of the length of this broadcast, which is coming on 5 years at this point, it has been mostly just off the sweat of our backs. But I love it. This is something I just genuinely really enjoy. So please help us out if you are able, and if not, you being here and watching is more than enough. So it did end up being Mago in the mid lane with the Akali. There was, there was a possibility that, with the Aurora could go into the bottom lane, and you could give FNB again another kind of lane dominant, very mechanically good champion, a very mechanically good team fighter as well, something on the Akali, but they opt not to go that route. It will be the Aurora for FNB. FN Boss, in my opinion, the best CBLOL player never to win a title. He's been so close so many times, but has fallen at the final hurdle quite a bit. And now with this Red Canids roster, TDS, I was like, man, I feel so bad for FNB because Red had a decent formula. They weren't awful last split. They were fine. And Aegis and Grevthar as a mid-jungle duo had been together for literally 5 years, right? And even some in tier 2, right? They're best friends. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses so well. And now you're going to throw in 2 rookies, right? Doom, who wasn't even, like, that's not like Tatsu, where it was like, no, this dude needs to be up immediately. Yeah. Mago hasn't played competitively, again, in 4 years. And they throw FNB into that mix and say, all right, try to win with this. And look, after it was a 1-game sample size against a loud team that looked completely out of sorts, but working out so far.
Yeah, the thing, these sort of situations always can be read as or interpreted as 2 ways. It's either desperation or an attempt at trying something new. And the line between both of those can be really thin when you think about it. Because like if it works out, it's great, and if it fails, it's horrible. But I think that for what happened last split, it probably was an idea of maybe changing things up, trying to find a new fresh breath air. I forgot how the phrasing works.
Breath of fresh air.
yeah, breath of fresh air probably could work out for some of these players. That can also go for the players that went out from red as well. So probably that was the idea in mind. Now, if it works, it's clearly going to be genius. If it's just in the middle ground, which is what I think will end up happening, it's still a fine idea, and you're setting up for what matters truly the most, which is that world spot, right?
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, excuse me, CBLOL, or actually LTA South, you are guaranteed a spot at MSI if you do win. Again, this is all, there's no cross-conference play in Split 2 leading up to MSI, so it is a spot in the play-ins, whereas LTA North, excuse me, geez, that came at the wrong time. LTA North gets a spot right into the group stage, if you will, as Morteus gonna eat the Ignite here, dealing out damage in the back end really well, though. The Ignite goes down, the barrier goes down on both sides. Morteus and Trimby fighting back very nicely. So because LTA North got the spot at first stand in Split 1, they get the spot at MSI group stage, whereas the losing quote-unquote of the two regions, they have to fight through the play-ins. So that is why LTA South is in the play-ins. And look, I'm a homer for this region, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. It makes sense.
Yeah, they need to prove themselves. I think it's fine, and I think they'll eventually pull it off. But for now, it's planes that they will be going to. And also, for now, 3 summoners down there in the bot side.
Yeah.
2 in favor of BKS. It was only the barrier for the Ignite and the barrier. So all in all, not a bad trade down there, and maybe could set up for something really, really good in the future. But bot lane is one thing, top lane and mid lane is another. The 2 lanes are taking quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, this is some fisticuffs here early. We've got a bloodbath here early on. We'll see when the next set of kind of trades want to come through. Mago against Kissy, 2 young players. I mean, well, Kissy is young as far as CBLOL is concerned, but like we said, he's had a big old history in O, so there's a connection that he had with CL, the coach for VKS, who came in last year, said, nope, I'm going to just essentially, he's come down here doing what a lot of coaches, this is not to slag off CL, but a lot of coaches have come down and said, look, I see the mechanical potential in Brazil as more trades come through in the bottom lane, but I need to, kind of save this region, essentially, and rewrite how they do the macro. And he hasn't said that. He's come in with a much more kind of, I'm going to buy into the culture approach, right? He's picked a soccer team. He also picked Flamengo, which feels like cheating because they are the biggest and the richest soccer team, but whatever. You picked a team, right? He's learned Portuguese. He has made some, jokes that maybe aren't jokes about, like, finding a Brazilian wife down here, and gotten some, again, were they jokes or were they not, proposals on the other end of that. So shout out to CL. But I think what he's done, one, he's clearly a very intelligent man. He knows his stuff about League of Legends. He took a roster that last year no one really expected anyone to do much with and got them all the way to the finals. So
yeah,
he has a track record of success, and he's done it in a way that isn't this like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, I'm going to tell you how to do it and just, teach you that. He said he had a lot of growing pains of like, look, I didn't appreciate just how different the culture was and how the priorities of the players, they really shift, and getting to know the players on an individual level and utilizing their strengths as opposed to trying to change their strengths, right? So I think he's done it in a better way, as this time, because this is not our overlay, this one is not our fault, ladies and gentlemen. So bear with us here. All right, there we go. We're back. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks much crisper now. But following that, like, you can clearly see the hand of a coach whenever like things happen that are a little bit more coordinated. Obviously, League of Legends is a game that makes it a little bit more difficult because typically what happens is that you just kind of imitate what everyone else does. Yep. And at the same time, it works out. But you also can see the head of a coach whenever like there's certain situations that play out in a certain way. As a little bit of a gang setup here, but there's no knock up on key, save the odd. Okay.
No, Mago playing pretty respectfully on the other side.
Mago
Goes in with the perfect execution. Flashes forward, almost get the shuriken flip. Mago with the solo bolo, but ends up on the wrong end of the lane. Desamis will finish him off. That was cool.
Yeah, you know what? You were saying Mago playing respectfully. No, Mago's playing to be respected. That was such an aggressive play out there by the mid laner from Red. An immediate kill as another engage up here, but it's not going to turn out. Forget about top lane. I want to talk about that play. That was so well executed. As soon as level 6 is hit, knows the advantage of health that he has, and also understanding that there's barely any other potential to follow up on that as, oh, okay, no.
No, yeah, the fisticuffs will continue, but that, yeah, Mago, like you said, immediately level 6 knows, like, look, I'm probably dead here, but I know I can take someone down with me, and it's a shame, because, I mean, maybe he would have died no matter what, but the fact that he ended up just like right under the tower, again, I still think he probably goes down, right? Doesn't have any of his abilities up, no R2, right, to be able to dash out, no flash, none of that, but look, he's on the Akali, and he's making things happen, man. This is what you wanted to see out of him. Trimby going right in there with the battle dance. But again, just both it seems like this bottom lane, everyone is just permanently at 50% HP.
Yeah, exactly. Like they are trying to fight quite a lot, and this is only going to benefit the junglers if they are in the right position. Like the Sammy's here, pretty good engage.
Very nicely done. Trimby going in, doesn't get much,
Frosty.
but the Glacial Prison will go down. Frosty able to get out of dodge just barely. Trimby almost paid for with his life. DeSamus held onto the flash, but did blow the ultimate. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Bull taking the business end of this matchup right now. FNB having a good time, up about 10 CS. How do you said there were some rougher matchups for the Gwen. As we get another look at this one, I want to break down that top lane in a bit here. But Mago, like you said, right at level 6, then the show starts.
And I love that he sent the Shuriken. I'm not sure if it was preemptive, but I'll try and think it was. Sends the Shuriken waiting for that last minion to die. As soon as the last minion dies, immediately engages, follows up with the ultimate and gets the kill. It is a flash for flash as well, by the way, but because it is a flash for flash, now with Mago having the advantage, it is more beneficial for him, because now there's way less tools for Kise to try and escape from any sort of engage from Mago or anyone else coming into the mid lane. And we haven't seen much from Doom yet, but he is level 6 now. So he can come mid lane, play with against Kizzy and get another kill for Mago. The setup now is in the advantage of the Akali, and I want to see Red play for this Akali to get even stronger.
Yeah, Doom's got that cease and desist now. Yeah, you want to keep feeding Mago, right? And you've got a three-headed monster here, right? Again, we talk about this with this composition for Red Canids. It is a bit of a solo queue composition, but there's a reason that it's been run just kind of so often. It's like, look, we just think we're better than you, and we just think we're going to outhands you. And if it works fantastic. If it doesn't, oh boy, it can be an absolute disaster, because you really have, I mean, you've got no real front line, right? You've got a bruiser and a cow on a support budget. Now, when the cow presses R, he turns into an actual tank, but that's literally just a 7-second window, and then you go back to just being a source of red meat for the rest of the team to feast on here. And Frosty not even at this level 6 mark. Morteus has hit level 6. Trimby won't hit level 6 before Frosty. He goes right in with the Unbreakable. DeSamus going forward, using that ultimate right on cooldown. They baited and outsmarted Red Canids into the waiting arms of the Sejuani. That is now 3 for 1. Oh my goodness. They held it on to give it to Morteus, but then he was like, I can't take this chance. I need to let this kill come in.
Nah, get the kill, get whatever you can in the process, but outsmarted, outplayed, outthought, really well done there by BKS, and another successful gank by the Sammys, already showing around the map and finding really multiple good plays that they can pull off. Kisi playing respectful here, knowing that there's no signs of Doom on the side, so he probably can be a target. But this is the thing, like, we've seen more impact coming in from the Sammys. He's been moving around, he's been trying to set up everything in the map, and this is what you want to do from your jungler, especially when he has that level 6 power spike like Doom, where you can just lock down people really effectively. We need to see more of that out of Doom, and we have not seen that at all. And maybe here a little bit of a play, but the Sammys is quite tanky, so I don't think they have enough damage to be able... Oh, he didn't even get the blue buff. Ouch.
Yeah, he's got to be careful, right? Like you said, DeSamus, that's the downside of him getting both of those kills. He's almost on his way to that Heartsteel, and he's just a thick boy. He's got almost over 2,000 HP. Oh my goodness, Trimby on the wrong side of the train tracks, buddy. Able to get out there with the battle dance. You see the lane by lane econ. Yeah, DeSamus putting on an absolute clinic. And it's not that Doom has really put a foot wrong, but DeSamus, it's exactly what you said, TDS. As soon as he hits level 6, he is looking for someone to pop that on cooldown.
Yeah, and we need to see the same thing from Doom. Like, we already saw Mago having his hands show there with that soul kill. We need to see now Doom go for something similar. Maybe here Trimby, not enough, too much movement speed, and Doom is a little bit too late to follow up on that. The gold lead is not that big that it's that difficult to try and follow up on from the side of Red, and they still have a composition that if they blow up a target quickly enough, it's going to be much easier to have a follow-up team fight. That being said, we're reaching a point in the game, like it's 11 minutes in with this Grubs as well potentially, where if they lose a team fight, that may as well just be doomed for the game, because it's really difficult to try and follow back when you're down that much.
Yeah, Vi can start to struggle there.
Yeah.
She's a very controversial champion for a reason. There are some people that are just absolute Vi haters, and again, I see why, but there's a reason this champ has been picked so much, and it's not just an arcane buff. It is just the fact that you have point-and-click lockdown, as well as a couple of gap closers in your kit. And with the mechanically skilled, right, you can play with the interactions on like auto canceling and getting the the extra charges on their certain abilities, right? Shredding the armor as well. So in the hands of good players, this champion can be absolutely game-changing. But what you don't want to see is sort of like you were saying, 11 and a half minutes in, 0-0-0. Ugh, things get dicier and dicier as the game goes on. And only the one kill onto Mago here as VKS. Now we're going to see this hand of a coach, potentially, right? Because Red came out with a big win over Loud. Again, I think that win told us more about Loud than it did about Red, with all due respect to my 26-year-old GOATs. Cade, against a team that they should have beat the brakes off of. It was not a clean win. We're going to learn a lot about both these teams here, TDS. In just the second game, both these teams are going to be... this game is going to go a long way to defining what we think of them.
Yeah, it can make or break a lot of the narratives that we're going to have going forward, especially. But so far, really good recovery from BK that they've been able to show. Another late dragon. Interesting, the priority that some of these teams have had with the dragons, right? Because the previous game barely touched that dragon at all in multiple situations. Now this dragon, 12 minutes in, first dragon of the game. Oh,
my goodness, almost finds its mark there with the Glacial Prison. Yeah, Tribby's got to be careful here. They do get the dragon, but he'll be the sacrificial lamb. Kill onto Brunsey. That's a member that you need to get rolling here. And now Red on the hunt here. Mago going forward there with the perfect execution, able to flash forward, sidestep the rest of the abilities. Man, it just looks cooler because it's on an Akali, but he's playing this champion really, really well here. FNB running into a kill as well.
Exactly, and they saw the opportunity with Trippy going too far forward there, and guess what? Gets punished. Rakan may have tools to escape, but he is a squishy, so he gets locked down. He ends up dying really effectively. 2 good kills for the side of Red, 1 on the Ezreal, 1 on the Aurora, and they also are able to, at the very least, pour a little bit more into the turrets. They lose the dragon, though, if I'm not wrong there. I think it was collected by the Samis, so it's 1 apiece once again. Pretty equal in terms of the objectives that they were able to collect, but here, look at this. The Samis forces the engage. When the engage fails here, I think Trippy has to call it off, and the Samis does that, but they don't follow each other up there. They are a little bit late to follow up on what the other wanted to do, and this just means that now the rundown from the side of Red is just much, much better. And Mago, trying to have some style points as well with the flash like you were mentioning, looks much cooler, but at the end they end up 2 kills, and in life.
Bull in a little bit of trouble here. Does not have the level 2 ultimate just yet, but able to buy some time there. Mago will survive somehow, and now Doom gets on the board. The wealth being spread all around the team. Mago just trying to buy some time for the rest of his team to escape. Kill there onto Morteus. Now he's got 2 kills. And TDS, I mean, look, Cade, we're controlling the early game here, but both the kills were onto Desamis. And look, he's making things happen, so that's fair enough. But now you've got kills into the hands of a carry here. And you see how back and forth this game has been. 375 to 375, all in the hands of the top laners as far as the turret plating is concerned.
It's such a weird situation where every bit of gold from the plates went to the top laners. And it's not a bad thing, actually. The Gwen and the Aurora getting gold, not necessarily a bad choice there. Now, I think it's going to be scarier to have that Gwen with extra gold later on, but that's going to depend also on how the side of Kid played it out, because like you were mentioning, early game control goes to Kid, but that early game control matters if you're able to make things happen consistently in your favor. Where Red has been able to bounce back in multiple fights, has been able to hand check them in some situations, and they are getting gold into important members. Having gold onto Mago and onto Brands is always good to have.
Wow, and you see there the difference between Mago and Kisei. The stats really are kind of even. It's just kind of, you can't really draw any conclusions from it, but doubling up the damage,
that's
10,000 to 5,000. I mean, my goodness, but it's what you've been saying, TDS, right? Like, in these fights, Red have just been more clinical, and so they are team fighting a little bit better. Again, it's been kind of on uneven terms, right? Desamis with no ultimate. Tribby was down in that last fight, and Red just kind of like, they're sort of like vultures, right? They swoop in, they pick off what's left. We haven't seen a straight up 5v5, and like we talked about with this composition, you've got no real front line, right? You've got plenty of damage and plenty of engage, and you got a little bit of CC here and there. But in a straight up front to back 5v5, you still favor the composition for K-Stars. Brunsey gets locked down, throws a true shot barrage at absolutely nobody. Morteus playing backwards very nicely here. Tribute just trying to body block a little bit. They win out the 3v2. They almost get onto Brunsey. Had to blow the summoner and the ultimate. Desamis showing up here. Potential re-engage on the card. Has the flash. Has the ultimate. Maybe you can get your top laner down to help out, but it looks like the engage will be called off. We will get Rift Herald spawning in just a couple of seconds here, so maybe we see the fight around there. But right now, it is Red with a little bit of that deep vision. They know exactly where they're coming from, and actually just going right on to Trimby, almost able to lock him down.
And no assist and desist means that Trimby can try and escape there. And it's kind of funny how we've consistently seen the bot lane go 2v2 all the time. Like they are fighting consistently so much. And every time there's a jungler on the side, one pays the price. This time around, nobody dies, but it was flash for both Mortius and Brand, and also Mortius used ultimate. So right now, a little bit more of a sitting duck. In case there's a chance to try and lock him down, there's possibility to try and fight a kill there. But no flashes for the AD carries means that there's a slight opportunity for either jungler to really get a good peek out of them and then try and turn that into more value. Still, they really love to fight. Like, I'm not sure if this is a Trimby call or a Frosty call or who is calling that, but they want to kill themselves. They hate each other.
Yeah, no, they absolutely want blood, and with both these compositions, I mean, like you said, the junglers have such good lockdown, so you understand, and the supports have good follow-up CC as well. Frosty, maybe in a little bit of trouble here, doesn't have the Unbreakable. Glacial Prison again, not really finding its mark here with Desamis in the last couple. The first two hit, but the next two haven't been great. They do have an interesting angle here. FNB can go in, they can pincer them in. True Shot Barrage just clips Trimby. As the Herald goes down, Summoner, a TP coming in here. Desamis just taking Doom off the objective. Does allow Morteus to lock it up. Now here comes Mago. Frosty very, very low. Does have the Unbreakable, buying a lot of time. Kissy going in, able to get the damage down. Brunsey taking down Bull in the back line. Brunsey goes down. Bull shows up at the perfect time. Double for Morteus as VKS clean the fight up. Doom gets one back, and a shutdown is huge. But the Cade Stars off the hands of their rookie AD carry, a triple for him. Now they've gotten the ball rolling.
Yeah, 3 kills on the side of the Kai'Sa. They get the Herald as well in the process. Plus, a couple of Summoners down as well on the side of Red. And this fight, really well done by BKS. First of all, because they were first in position to try and force it. They forced Frosty's flash immediately, so that takes away from some of the engaged potential. But crucially here, Mago bot lane, he teleported in way too late at a point where Kizzy is already zoning out FNB, so the Aurora cannot do anything with her ultimate. Herald is down, and then the re-engage, Aurora is way too far away. As soon as the engage happens here, Kizzy is already killing one of the targets, then they are engaging onto Mago, which is kind of taking away all the pressure, and then on the other side, Trimby and Bolo are 2v3ing. So everything is really separated for the side of PNG, or sorry, from Red, I'm really sorry about that, from Red, and they cannot pull their team fight like they want to pull it off in comparison to Kid playing all together really well.
Yeah, they kind of just spread them all over the map, and I want to point out what you said initially, because I didn't really pay a ton of attention to that, but Kissy just took FNB out of that fight completely, right? I mean, he with the Soul Unbound, he bought so much time and space, and it was timed so perfectly, right? And like you said, if Mago was there a little bit earlier, then that decision for Kissy gets a little bit harder, right? He has to actually decide, okay, do I actually stay on FNB? My goodness, that is so much damage. He's got no kills, by the way. That is 1.5 items. Just obliterating.
Owen to Yone.
My goodness, that is something else here. As VKS going to grab themselves a dragon for the fruits of their labor. Now a 2,500 gold lead. And again, TDS, this is where we can see the wheels fall off. This Red Canids composition, not built to handle this type of stuff. The burden of execution is so much higher in the composition for Red Canids, but the ceiling is also quite a bit higher. Want to point out just a real quick, thank you guys for joining us from the Captain Flowers co-stream. Want to give kind of the same, intro to you guys as we did for our regular viewers. If you are here, thank you so much. You being here is a huge, huge help to us. Join our community Discord if you want more English-speaking commentary on the LTA South. We've got a great group of fans in there from all over the world, actually, talking about the LTA South, in my opinion, the greatest region in the world. Follow our channel, sub if you are able to. We do this all for free because we love this region. We think it needs more coverage in English, especially now after the merger. Desamis going in here. Bull gets a big old snip of just the minions. Now Trimby with the follow-up CC. Red getting CC'd to death, but the damage just isn't there. Bull not able to get in there like he would want to, but now with Morteus showing up here with 5 kills and a whole lot of gold in his pocket. The turret goes down in the mid lane. Meanwhile, they actually don't get anything out of this. Red Canids coming out on top in this one.
Yeah, it's all just to cut you off a little bit there, but at the end, nobody ends up dying. It's still an exciting fight to pull it off, and kind of glimpses of why this could be. This is, in a way, the best region in the world with all the fighting that is going on. That being said, no kills here means that we will get potentially a repeat fight for this Atakan that is already spawned. There is a couple of summoners that are down on the sides of Red that could be quite meaningful, namely that teleport from FNB, so he cannot go away. Yes. Engages a little bit on Trimby, but not much going to be found here. And what will they try and do with this position that they have on the side of BKS? Because they have Kize pushing on the side, and I don't think anyone can fight him at this point with how much damage he's doing on the side. But also at the same time, you cannot leave Atakan by itself. So you have to take a decision on what you want to do at this point if you're red.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head there. Kissy, he is, I mean, just unplayable right now. You cannot send anyone to match him. It's so difficult. He can 100-0 literally anybody here as we get a pause, unfortunately, in this one. On the bottom left a little bit earlier, you saw Fluxu W7M looking for their first win of 2025, looking to get it against Leviathan, a Leviathan team that kind of took it to Furia, just out-team fought them, outlaned them, made it a little spicy there into the mid-game for Furia, but they came out with a big win today as well. Leviathan trying to square off and get their second win before Loud versus Pain. O Clássico das Multidões, the two biggest fan bases, thanks to INTZ being, going the way of the dodo, unfortunately. We made a joke, though, that INTZ probably still has the third largest fan base, even though they have had no titles for 4 years, but they've been around for so long, and their team literally doesn't exist anymore. If you are an INTZ fan in the chat, who are you rooting for? Now, your team doesn't exist anymore. Where's your fandom go? Let us know. I'm very curious to hear that. TDS, zooming back in on this one as the pause gets underway here. Hopefully they can figure that out. It feels like the clock is ticking here for Red Canids, and it feels like, again, like their setup isn't as good, right? As far as the team fights are concerned, they're gonna have to win this on vision, and the bigger that Kissy gets, there are more advantages that VKS can exploit. I really worry for Red Canids now.
Yeah, the thing we talked about is at the start of it, or when the draft was finishing for the side of Red Canids, where their composition was based on being able to hand div them and pretty much destroy them off of damage. The problem is that now BKS is in a spot where they can destroy you with better damage and a better comp. And that's the scary part, because now Yone will outdamage you, Gwen will outdamage you, Kai'Sa to a certain degree will outdamage you, and you also have a front line thanks to the fact that you have the Samis that is tanky enough to survive a lot of the engage potential. And that's a scary fact for Red, because they may have damage, but they don't have survivability. So it's going to become more of a war of attrition in who can kill who first, and how can they achieve that. Now, flank angles for Red are still much better. Like one good flank angle by FNB and Mago that completely deletes Mortheos off the map means that then a fight becomes much easier to pull off. If you can ignore the Sejuani and play off of the weaklings in the backline, then it's easier to win that fight. The problem is how consistently can you find that, as Mago getting fought here, and you're by yourself.
Yep, he is all alone. Bull dumps all the damage into him, trying to make Desamis miss there, just buy a little bit of time. But Bull now online with his first kill. There was absolutely nothing to do. Desamis just yoinking that kill. Okay, bud, we get it. You're important to the team. Let's slow
He needs
it down.
gold.
Just yeah, he doesn't have enough. Yeah, exactly. Just cool 8 out of 9 kill participation. He needs more. He is really important to this team, sort of like you were saying, right? Like,
yeah.
The more he stays alive, the more difficult he makes it for the rest of this composition to play itself out. Bull not going to go in there onto Doom, I should say, waiting on the wings of Frosty and Kissy. Again, just the dominance that he's displaying here over FNB. I mean, he's at 230 CS. Just farming up a storm. Him and Morteus eating every last scrap that comes their way. And now Morteus TDS 3 items. He is absolutely huge. He has hit a really good spot on this Kai'Sa. And like you said, Red doesn't have the we can just out damage you thing anymore. Yeah, no, not really. You've got a Yone, and also the Gwen is online, and Morteus has 3 items.
Yeah, it's just scary. And also, like, looking at some of the build paths that Mortheos opted into, a little bit of AP means that it's going to be a lot more pokey than just a straight up damage or a straight up out attack damage, meaning that you probably are going to take a bit of your health before you even are able to engage onto Mortheos, and that's scary. Although here, I thought FNB was going to immediately engage there, but it's that the angle is difficult. They need to find a flank angle, because if not, Mortheos has tools to escape.
Yeah, you've got some slippery champions, right? Gwen is immune, Trimby and Desamis are made of CC, Kissy can reposition himself, Morteus has the ultimate as well, right, to reposition himself, has the flash, has the barrier, so has a lot of defensive tools. As Doom looking for a way into this one. Now, waiting for that W to hit somebody.
Just waiting on it, yeah.
Yeah, the Void Seeker to see how much it can get, but in the top lane, Kissy able to take a tower, and now Red can start off this dragon, but it might be a bad idea. Kissy joins the fight. Bull is completely undetected there in the bottom. They get the stun there onto Brunsey, and he might get deleted. He has to flash away. Between two worlds goes FNB. Might have something there, but Doom left it alone to the Wolves. Kissy repositions on him. It goes terribly for Red Canids. Every angle that they picked was a disaster. Cage start the fight, and because of that, dictate the tempo of it and walk away winners, and they will get the dragon.
On the both kids, actually, Frosty may be dead as well.
Yeah, he might be toast. Somehow will survive. But Cade taking a big, a couple of huge fights have gone their way here, TDS.
Yeah, and I cannot blame Red for their attempt there. They were trying to find the flank angles like we were talking about. You can see Mago going in from down there, and then from the other side, you could see FNB trying to look for an angle for the Euro ultimate as well. The problem is that when they were looking for those, really, really good by Paul, spotting the Kali and immediately forcing her out. As soon as that happens, you kind of lose all your opportunity for the flank angle to really find Morpheus, and then from that it's just a follow-up team fight really well executed. You're denying the potential team fight value from Red, and then you're adding onto your team fight value. And we see also that in situations where the team gets separated, it's just much better for BKS because of virtue of how their champions function by themselves. The Gwen is better alone, and the Yone is better alone as well. So it's really difficult to make an advantage when you're separated and you cannot out-damage them either.
No, it really is. And like you said, it's getting rougher and rougher for Red Canids. It feels like in every matchup they are starting to lose, and Bull on this Gwen has hit the spot where Gwen, she can do absolutely nothing for the entire early game, but then, it's just, oh my gosh. Now Gwen's going to do Gwen things. She's got the Riftmaker online. 8 stacks on the Dark Seal as well. The early lane didn't go too well for her, but now she is back with a vengeance. There was nothing FNB could do there. He needs to play in concert with his team, and now the CC coming in there onto Frosty. Trimby trying to get the CC onto the backline members as well, but Frosty goes down, and Kate are just dog-walking Red Canids right now.
Yeah, with 2 kills now down with FNB and Frosty out of it. There is still Doom on the side, but he has no flash. I'm not sure if they even need to go for a Hail Mary here, but at the same time I can see them just feeling that it has to happen. Doom, he gets stopped. I don't think it's Baron.
Oh man, oh man.
Oh, no.
Just playing this so well, not allowing Red to decide where they want to start the fights. Mago can do absolutely nothing. One at a time, the members of Red Canids fall. They look disgruntled. They look fragmented, splintered, as Cade dictating the tempo of every single instance on this map. TDS, it's a disaster for Red, but for Vivo Cade Stars, again, you are seeing them play cohesively, right? Play with a plan and play on the front foot. They're not conceding any tempo.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there were some situations in the game where they were looking a little bit disjointed with some of the engagements from Trimby, but so far, after the 15-minute mark, I think they have been much more consistent in what they wanted to do, and particularly how they want to follow up on certain fights. It's all around Trimby engaging, yes, but Dizem is ready to follow up on that as well. And as soon as they get the kills, as soon as they get the damage that they want to, then it's pretty easy to just kill the Baron buff and follow up on that really effectively. Huge way of playing so far this game, and the windows of opportunity for Red are kind of completely out of the window. Like, I won't take away any chance just because there's always... I think Trimby stole that, by the way. They actually got it. No, they got it. They have a buff. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, the Red Canids fans you saw on your screen right there, I think that, kind of representative of how the whole fan base is feeling of, okay, that last win was fun, but maybe Loud is just terrible. We might have a long way to go here. It's hard not to look back at the draft, right? I'm not one who likes to keep just harping on, it was draft if, but Red made the game a lot more difficult for themselves, right? They weren't able to keep the pressure on. They got some early momentum going, but with guys like Mago, especially, right? And Doom, right? We talked about the 0-0-0 11 minutes in, right? He couldn't find a way in to try to accelerate his lanes.
And now, talking about Doom.
Yeah, he just might be dead here. Glacial Prison going out, but the rest of Red Canids bails out their jungler.
Yeah, still have to run away. They have to give up this top lane turret, and that means that they are going to push even more into the baits from the side of Red. And Brands also has to be a little bit careful because he has no flash yet, so he has a way to escape, but only one.
Oh my goodness. And they're just tearing right through Frosty. Again, no ultimate here. 2v1 here, trying to get onto Bull, but he does so much damage onto Mago. And they can get on him. They get the CC down. He might get an opportunity there. If he got one more snip off, I think Mago would have died. But they get a much needed kill here. Frosty has nowhere to go. FNB, my goodness, almost survived on the skin of his teeth. Morteus buying a little bit of time with the stopwatch. Frosty going in. Get a little bit of CC down. And now Doom actually gets the shutdown here. Somehow surviving. Kissy coming in. Can he clean this fight up for Cade and end the game? A lot of damage coming in onto Doom. but Brunsey still free firing, but it's just not enough. He doesn't have the armor pen yet. He can't shoot through those thicker targets. Kissy able to grab the kill. Tasamas survives for so long. You see just how much effort it takes Red to chew through this Sejuani, man.
Yeah, it took them so long, but this is one of those few instances where we finally see Red able to, at the very least, in something. They kill Bo first and foremost, so they have a little bit of a window. Oh, Brands used the...
Oh, my goodness, he just might be dead here.
He's dead.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, as soon as that connects, it's dead. Yeah,
great angle there by Kissy.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just waiting out like that. That was solid.
Yeah, hey, so far 2 days of Yone, I've loved them so far. How the teams have played the Yone. They wait for their time and then they become a monster.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what's happening here. They're picking their spots very, very well. Cade now 10,000 gold up here.
Yeah.
Cade, Red in a really, really tough spot here, but this is exactly the kind of performance you needed to see if you are Cade Stars, because I mean, look, fans are fickle. Just in any sense, fandom can be a very, very a very, very interesting thing. But this is what you needed to see, because in Split 1, the pitchforks were coming out, man. And I think unfairly, because it was like Split 1, you can take some things away from Split 1. But that was a glorified kickoff tournament, right? Let's be real, right? Like, Isurus, they're very good. Great, right? Pain, they underperformed. Yes, all these things. The North is better than the South. Okay, great. But Cade, again, this is a development roster. And after, 5 games, essentially? The pitchforks were coming out for CL and for Trimby. And again, look, Red dug themselves into a hole here. They're integrating a new mid-jungle. Maybe this isn't the best of barometers, but you beat the team you should have yesterday, and now, against a kind of similar level opposition, they are doing all right here. But now Red, try to go forward here. Did Cade Stars bite off more than they could chew? Mago doing work in the back line here. FNB free firing, so is Brunsey. And now the kill coming in onto Mago. Flashes for it, but now the return kills coming in as well. Brunsey, it's a 3 for 2 as they get a big old shutdown, and they hold off the inevitable pendulum swinging over their heads of doom. Very nicely done there by Red.
Yeah, remember what I told you about all things kind of going out the window? Well, those things can turn around if you have human mistakes. And that's what's happening. Cade feels like, I'm not sure if it's a little bit of the pressure of trying to close out the game or not, but realistically, they are forcing a little bit too much without really needing to. They have a poke Kaisa you can just send from a distance, the poke factor from the Kaisa, and just try and wait it out. But they engage here really well into Mortheus. Sonyas means that he's out for at the very least 3 seconds from the fight, and then they kill the remaining targets really, really quickly. Mago forcing really, really well. Kise having to go way too far forward, also messing up the ultimate a little bit in that situation, not really finding the right angle. And it means that it's really easy to just completely deviate from what BKS were doing and then just end up cleaning out the fight. I thought FNB was going to die there, but if BKS just goes back to waiting a little bit longer, playing for what their comp has, especially that poke from the Kaisa, it should be a pretty comfortable game from them to close out. That being said, at the very least, signs of life for Red.
And boy, do they need it. It's still quite the mountain to climb here. And with the amount of damage that this composition can do now, the amount of true damage that this composition can do now with Cade Stars, they should be able to absolutely maul through this Baron and use that to be the final battering ram. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing that Red can do here. And look, fair enough, they didn't put themselves in an intentionally losing situation, right? Your best chance really is to just turtle, play for a pick, right? Hope Cade overextend here. Oh my goodness, FNB, he's got to get to his team really quickly. They might have a pick here onto Bull. Season desist goes down.
I don't think so.
Morteus onto Brancy, deletes him. The TP comes in for FNB, but it is too little, too late. Cade punished Red for looking for a pick there. They are just too far ahead. I like the idea from Red, but at this stage in the game, there's so much wiggle room for Cade. Mago somehow still alive, but will go down. 4 for 0. That's the game.
Yeah, just like that. Pretty anticlimactic when you ask me, because we came from that fight into them just killing Baron and killing the Nexus. Now, big mistake. You thought you could kill a Wen. Guess what? You can't. We're 30 minutes in. You cannot kill the Wen, sadly. And at this point, it's just going to be enough for Cade Stars to try and end it up. I still think they have room to grow, like you're mentioning, but so far so good. 2-0. It's a good start of the split.
Yeah, huge. Morteus, 2-0 now in Split 2. A guy who had a lot of expectations coming out of Academy at some point, looking like the best AD carry in Tier 2 last year. But the Guerreros, the Warriors of Cade, take one over Red Canids. A lot of history between these two teams. They've had a lot of roster kind of swaps and, you know, certain players for one team going to the other team. These teams have a lot of history. They're two of the more stalwart orgs in Brazilian League of Legends. And a big win here for Cade. Let's talk about, let's kind of wrap it up here for Cade before we talk about maybe what went wrong for Red. Cade, I mean, they played a really, really solid game, but I want to highlight Kissy as well, man, because he was not having a good time of it in lane, but still found a way to be effective.
Yeah, and I think this goes to show a little bit more of the, like, hand that the team had on them, because most of the game went by for Kissy where he got solo killed, then moved around the map, and just like you were mentioning, there was one point where he was like 230 CS, like 30 CS ahead of Mago, who was having a little bit more impact, maybe in moving around the map, but Kissy was just slowly farming, finding value once again, and as soon as he hit that 1.5 item mark, Yone became not a monster, but really difficult to deal with. So that's the thing, like, you still need to keep yourself in the game in some ways, and Kissy did that.
Yeah, no, he did, and he made his presence felt. I mean, he's a mechanically very gifted player, right? And you saw kind of in that first trade where he just kind of 100-0 at FNB, and you go, oh wait, no, we're in trouble here. This is only going to get better for him as the Reds' momentum kind of stalled there, and Kissy was able to really establish himself as a force in the game. And everybody else, man, Bull, he's again one of the more controversial players in CBLOL because people are wondering how does this dude keep getting a chance in Tier 1? And I think, look, that might be his level forever. Is like, you know, there are a lot of those players, right? Too good for Tier 2, but not quite good enough for Tier 1. But now he's in a system with really, you know, good coaching. You know, they all communicate in English. They have English tutors employed by the team, right? To make sure that, no, we're you know, this isn't just like, oh, make sure you're learning English on your own, guys. No, they're very intentional about the way they do everything here, right? A coach that is looking towards the future. Yes. And has proof of concept as well. So it's about trusting the process for the Cade Stars. But look, they got a 2-0 here, right? Two wins that they needed to start the first 3 weeks off, right? For Red Canids, outside of the draft issues, right, where you didn't really give yourself much of an opportunity to succeed in the late game in these more structured fights, what else did you see that you really didn't like from Red Canids?
Like, I hate to put a huge point into this, but I feel like it was the biggest difference maker, and it has to be Doom. Like, I'm fine with an action when it's a farming jungler. But if you're playing Bai, if you're playing Xinjiao, if you're playing Maokai, if you're playing Sejuani, you have to make something happen early on. And the inaction from Doom really impacted the way, especially because I feel like for this game particularly, it was easier for Doom to find angles to make it happen. Mago got a solo kill into the mid lane at level 6. Blue flash from the Yone. So there was an angle for you to just consistently go mid lane, and dump on Kissy. Same for top lane. Like, we talk about Bo being able to play the game out, but he was suffering a lot in top lane, and he had no flash. He went ghost. So there were angles for Doom to really find opportunities, but it felt like his inaction this game really meant the difference for the side of Red Canids. And if we see a Bai that is consistently dumping, and we see a Mago 3-0 because they killed the Kissy consistently, maybe this is a completely different game.
Yeah, no, it's again, you don't want to just put it all on the rookie, especially after the fantastic day he had yesterday. But it's tough to overlook, especially when you had Desamis on the other side. How to do the exact opposite of that. You saw what he was able to do for the rest of his squad, right? Even though he missed a lot of his glacial presence in the mid game, the gravity he brought, you had to pay attention to him, right? And
he was there all the time.
Yeah, no, he absolutely was. So unfortunately, that does mean a loss for Doom and Mago, but they've got an opportunity to bounce back next week. TDS, thank you so much for being here, man. We appreciate you. Welcome to the team. We're happy to have you onwards and upwards as the split goes on. Right now, we're going to take it to a quick break. I'll be back with RMC for the last 2 games. Fluxo W7M versus Leviathan, and then Clásico, Loud versus Pain. We'll be right back. everybody. We're back.
In draft.
Yeah, right in the draft. Drafting. Top lane priority is still very much a thing here. You can draft it B1. I think first Jace we've seen. Or did we see that late yesterday? I didn't end up watching those games.
Honestly, I think that's the first Jace we've seen. If it's been
the split
banned
anyway.
A couple of times.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Hedon going to be on the Rumble this time around. Marvin going to be on the Ashe. But drafting in order on the blue side, we've seen this a lot. RMC, you can B1 a top laner and then just grab your blindable mid and your blindable jungle, and then leave the rest of the composition to play itself out. And Nocturne is the hover here, and it will be the lock-in. Now that tells you Orianna. That's a brave thing to put there, kind of R3, because in theory you just ban out the Orianna and things get a lot trickier. But you know we have evolved, I think, with Nocturne in the meta to where you don't need the Orianna next to it anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big reasons too. We're seeing draft coming down in order. Top lane feels like it has the most OP champs right now, and then jungle following with the Gwen now coming up priority, and the Fury being there as well. Nocturne no longer having to be partnered with Orianna, and for Fluxu W7M as well. I do feel like Fu playing Orianna, you're just not maximizing Fu. He's your best player. Give him a carry. Like I wouldn't hate to see him play the Akali like we saw Mago do. Last game. Well, maybe not like we saw Mago do last game.
For the first like 10 minutes, it was sick.
Exactly.
So, are you going to be banned away? They did take away the Orianna. They want nothing to do with that combo if they can help it. I suppose that's fair enough. But again, you have left Fu with a lot of options here, right? So even if it does lock in this Aurora, it's going to be a lot of physical damage coming through. No true frontliner if this Aurora is in fact locked in here. So a composition that Fluxu W7M, they're going to have to get a lead really rolling here in the early game. And against Leviathan, that's a tough ask because that's what they do. They are the ones that are the aggressors in lane. So it's not that there aren't places to punish, but Leviathan's early game numbers are some of the best that we've had. Callista, Nico, let's go!
And I think they forgot. I forgot about Callista, right? She's been on the ban list for so long.
Yeah, you just assume she's gone. She's always banned. It's just like, why do we even, I don't need to practice this champion.
It's always been Varus, Callista, permaban, it feels like, throughout split one. Now Varus still on the ban list, but Callista making it off, and that's perfect for Leviathan. They love the aggression. Pro Delta, especially in the bot lane, loves the aggression. Now you give him an AD carry champion who can pair with his Nico, who's gonna make action happen right from the get-go. Pardon me. You love to see it. Looks like W7M though with the Karma Ashe, that is a good answer to the Callista. A lot of slows. CEO is not gonna have a fun time down there.
No, that is going to be a really tough lane to go into. I mean, you do have the range with the Tangle Barbs, right? But other than that, this is a short range, kind of high octane bottom lane. But I agree. If you're going to throw anything into it, throw something with a lot of poke, a lot of damage, a lot of slow, right? The CC as well, shielding of defensive value as well. So if Pro Delta can, or I should say, excuse me, if Giggs can cycle his abilities well and be very intentional with when he's using everything, right? It's the cooldowns are high, right? The mana costs are not negligible, but the karma can be so oppressive on top of the Ashe there. But I hope we see some fireworks in this bottom lane, man. I mean, but point is, Leviathan, they've given themselves quite a few avenues to play through here, and that bottom lane obviously stands out. Anything else that catches your eye from the Leviathan draft?
From the
You might have muted yourself, unless you had a hiccup spree.
Oh. Yes, sorry, I am having a hiccup screen right now. Apologies for that in advance. I'm hoping for that this game scares me enough that it kind of goes away, because...
There you go.
Hey, if there is a game for some upsets, it does feel like it should be this one. Now, Leviathan's draft-wise, I think they drafted pretty standard. A lot of OPs to come through. A lot of individual strength from their composition. Despite the Callista Nico, when they're picking stuff like a Jace on the top side as well, like the Talia in the mid lane, you're not exactly a team fighting composition to me. You're more of a comp that kind of just wants to play macro and make things happen individually in your lanes, and that's what I want to see from them. So I am expecting them to try and kind of bring their hands to the table, and we've seen it before back in Split 1.
100%. No, I mean, Cody, right? He likes to talk a lot of noise, and he plays really kind of all gas, no brakes. You saw our tier list there on the bottom left. We expect pretty much nothing out of Fluxu W7M, even with the change they made in the jungle, swapping out Drake Hero for ganks of the LLA. Didn't really move the needle for us. They're still looking for their first win all year. They have not had a win in 2025. They went down pretty unceremoniously in the Split 1 knockout, or the lock-in tournament, and then they had a chance there in against Cade. Cade let them back into that one and allowed them to almost get their first win. What did you like from W7M in Game 1 against Cade?
Well, I do think they were scrappy. And that's something that they were in Split 1 as well. They're willing to fight, and they never give up. Even if they are falling behind, it goes back to the Shy quote that you quoted yesterday, right? The fact that you'd rather lose 0-10 than 0-4, because at least it means that you never gave up and you kept trying. And I do feel like that's W7M in a nutshell right now, which is, yeah, they are desperately trying. Now, against Leviathan, though, that could backfire. And I do feel like this is actually one of the worst matchups for Fluxu W7M in the LTA South, because Leviathan doesn't give up either. We saw that yesterday too, where they struggled immensely against Furia. But they came back because they were struggling, and more importantly, they were better at struggling. They're clutch when it matters. For Fluxu W7M, it's not just about coming back. It's actually about just trying not to fall behind and just making sure they're able to actually play from start to finish immaculate League of Legends. And that's something we've not seen from any LTA South team, much less Fluxu W7M.
No, and like you said, I hope we see blood as a result, because both these teams, they want fisticuffs. And in this bottom lane especially, again, I really hope we see some blood. But in this top lane as well, right? Hidan, he's, again, one of these guys who, he hasn't really kind of settled in Tier 1, a bit like Bull. Maybe this comparison is unfair, and I'm happy to have you disagree with me. Clearly too good for Tier 2. Borderline in Tier 1, right? And as the number of teams decreases, and as there are 2 LATAM teams, right, that, you know, theoretically are taking away a spot and a half from Brazilian players, right, it gets tougher and tougher. But Hidan and Bull, they have found their way back onto some LTA South rosters. And Bull, look, hey, he had a great Gwen game. Hidan's got an opportunity here to be the main man in this game.
100%. And it's actually interesting that you draw that comparison, because in Tier 2, I actually thought Hidan was the better of the two, because he could play Teamfight Champions. And Rumble,
he was
one of those
really good on Pain last year.
Yeah. And that's why it's funny you say that. And this game in specific, Hidan is on the Rumble. That is a champion that can not only win lane, but can also potentially be a huge team fight force for the team. Problem is, once again, 4x4, I'm looking at Fluxu W7M's draft, and you've got a Rumble with no setup. It's not quite as bad as a Misfortune with no setup, but it's certainly not very good.
All right, so your hiccups are making me smile, man.
Yeah. Come on, man. You know what? If Fluxu W7M win, I am like 99% sure I will lose the hiccups out of sheer shock.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, I mean, it's also like, so fun fact about my lovely wife.
Show us, Rose.
Fun fact about my lovely wife, she doesn't, she can't burp. I don't know if she can't, but she doesn't, right? Just in terms of like clearing space, if you've, eaten or drank too much too fast, she only hiccups. So it is bringing, I have intensely good associations with both of them, with both of you now, because of the hiccups. I think hiccups in general are very adorable, and not to emasculate you, but you are bringing a lot of smiles to my face right now. Gank's doing a little bit of counter juggling in the meanwhile, getting onto those grubs, but the Sentinel might spot him. Let's see what sort of turn it wants to take. No, I think he's just going to hang out kind of behind that dragon pit, but with that ward now, CEO going to be able to spot out Gank's, excuse me, and be able to get a little bit of damage down on him, but he's clearing really, really quickly here. Sentinel going out again, just bullying Pro Delta and company out of this lane. Now Geeks has an opportunity to pick up the kill here. Pro Delta has to flash away Marvin and company. Not sure if they were able to get a turret play necessarily, but Scary coming down for the response. Nope, just kind of shadowing. They know their time is limited, Fluxu W7M.
And I really like that from Ganks. I don't think we got to see a fair look at Ganks yesterday. It was a bit of a mixed bag coming through, and I thought he individually actually performed pretty well, but he just wasn't quite on the same page as the rest of the team, and that's going to happen when you have a new player on the team, much less one that might not speak the same language. Actually, this matchup's funny, because Leviathan is a LATAM team who picked up Brazilians, and now Fluxu W7M is a Brazilian team who's picking up a LATAM jungler. And so far, Leviathan did an amazing job. I think we all kind of thought they wouldn't perform that well in Split 1 because of language issues. They just blew that out of the water. Nope, everything's working fine for them. Fluxu W7M, though, yesterday, did look like they had comms issues. And Ganks getting off that really solid gank at the bot lane that quickly, that bodes well for them. My big question is more come the mid game, can they coordinate with this Nocturne? Because if he goes in and nobody else does, well, he's up a creek with no paddle.
Yeah, especially with, I mean, there's not a lot of extra kind of lockdown, right? The rest of the lockdown is coming from a Geeks tether, right? A Fu ultimate, or a Marvin Arrow, right? There isn't really that point-and-click kind of reliable lockdown to follow up on the Nocturne and to set things up for Hidan as well, right? With the Equalizer. So I worry a little bit about, like, this draft has a lot of pick potential and a lot of damage, but I worry about kind of how they're able to play out these team fights.
We didn't have too much time to talk and draft forever, but it's kind of funny because right now it sounds like Hidan Rumble, no setup. Ganks, no setup, no dive buddies. Fu and Marvin, who want to probably sit back and poke and do or not poke, but do team fight damage front to back, no front line. What does Fuxu W7M have?
Do you have an answer? Has Hidan able to get Zaffi's flash and he burned the flash of his own?
No, so I was hoping you'd have an answer. They have individual strength, I guess.
No, I mean, look, they do have potential. They do have damage. I think that's the real answer there. As Scary tries to get in there, but it's a nasty Mantra Q. Gig's getting a lot of value out of that one, making that amp tome work. I mean, they have a crap ton of damage, right? Hidan just. Okay, but it's the setup for the damage, right? That is the worrying part, right? Aurora, if you hit your abilities, you do unholy amounts of damage. Rumble, if you get going, you can take over a game single-handedly. And Ashe, ever since kind of about midway through last year, she's an actual lady carry now. She's not just a stun bot.
True. Especially as she gets into the game, she's got strong laning. When she hits, 5-6 items, she can certainly do a lot of damage as well. And she, most importantly, the slow, I think, is going to cripple CO's damage. So in relation to his lane opponent, he's certainly going to look a lot better as it goes on. I think what they do have as well is a very aggressive jungler, right? I'm loving the tempo that Ganks is putting down right now. Not only did he gank early at level 2, level 3, he's been able to go for this early dragon as well, pick that one up, and hopefully with the pressure Hidan got in the top lane, maybe they can look to try and delay Scary and actually look to try and fight on both sides of the buffs.
You want that ultimate? I mean, both these ultimates, right? I mean, the Glacial Prison, we talked about it a bit last game, how Dasamis, look, he wasn't hitting all of his Glacial Prisons, but the pressure that he created by showing up and just making you fear, okay, if he's here, that means he has ultimate, right? The pressure that he created using that and the threat of the ultimates is absolutely massive, and Ganks needs to kind of do the same thing, right? You've got two, I mean, Ganks obviously with a higher value ultimate, but both of these ultimates, I need to see them ripped on cooldown, especially because, I mean, this Fuxi W7M draft, it reminds me a little bit of the red draft from last game, right? Okay, you're not the strongest team fighting team, but if you get a lane that you can abuse and push ahead, you can win this game, and a lot of that comes down to Ganks.
Well, but if we're drawing that comparison for I'm a little bit worried because Red
so am I.
Win that
Absolutely.
game.
And Red are better than Fluxo W7M. So I trust them more to pull that off. Equalizer goes down, gets absolutely nobody. Gang's going in here with the help of Scary, but is it enough? It's not a ton of damage, TBH, but now Leviathan coming back in there. First blood going over to Zafbi. Able to get another one. Scary able to grab the kill. 2 kills for everybody in the top lane. Leviathan take the lead early.
And for I think I'm going to contest the statement that Paranoia is a higher value ultimate than the Sejuani ultimate right now, especially if Scary can read the map that well and counter gank right on point, right? And I love the way Scary held the Glacial Prison as well. He knew he didn't need it early because Zoffi already dodged out a lot of the initial damage, so they could hold it to clean up and actually get both of the kills. We'll get to see that in the replay. And props to Zoffi, because a lot of this comes actually from just this Jace solo play, right? Just using from the skies to just get out of position so that he's not stuck in the middle of the equalizer. And right here, he just keeps buying more and more space. And notice when the Glacial Prison comes out, right there. After the CC comes down, after they know that, hey, you're not getting away, it's not used to stop the gank, it's used to really maximize the gank. There was also a TP that did, unfortunately, come through from Cody kind of late, so Cody didn't get anything from it, but still has the Weaver's Wall as well to be able to match the next time ganks. Looks for a Paranoia ultimate somewhere.
True. No, you do. Yeah, you've got the ability to match with that. Like you were saying, Fu has the TP advantage on the other side. Haven't really talked much about him this game. It's been a quiet early game aside from that those first couple kills. I was expecting more. I was hoping for more from both these teams. Like you said, they make their livings on fighting, on being scrappy. But neither team has found a great way into this one. I'm going to go ahead and say this because it's a pretty evenly matched laners right now. I think as players, you could broaden that conversation out a little bit more. But they're playing a pretty balanced game right now. There's no massive lead aside from in that bot lane where Marvin is just abusing his range advantage.
See, because I don't have these players on my LTA fantasy roster, I don't care that it's a low kill game, because we're getting action, even if we're not getting kills, right? We saw Hidan and Zothy go at it. They blew flashes up top. I love the ganks from gank down bot early, which blew the flash as well out of, I believe it was Pro Delta at that time. And with the compositions, I have zero doubt we're going to see a lot more action as everybody's starting to hit 6, especially in the bot lane. I'm watching for Pro Delta to get his level 6, because we know Prods is the primary engage for this, or, well, not necessarily this team, because Scary's been doing a fantastic job as well, but in the past, on Pain Gaming, on Vivo Cade Stars, Pro Delta has always been a big trigger puller for those teams, and he's done so on Leviathan as well. I expect to see, there we go. Prods is now 6. CEO and Prods, you can see them clearing out vision. They want to make this happen. Scary's down here. He's got ult too.
Delta not even trying to hide who he is, just disguising himself as the Callista next to the Callista. So, fair enough. I mean, is there something there? Just like, oh, you have to make sure you pick the right Callista?
Well, they're clearing the vision, right? So when they get back to lane, to be fair, I actually think having both Callistas come back in out of Fog of War does confuse matters. You know one of them is Prods, but you don't know which one it is anymore because of the way vision drops. It's like 3-cup Monty. It's up to Callista Monty?
Yeah. Oh, that's the question, isn't it? Marvin clearing out things in the bottom lane. We will see the next objective. It's going to be the first 3 grubs did go over to Leviathan. First dragon went over to Fluxu. First 2 kills obviously over to Leviathan as well. Bit of a slower early game than we were expecting in this one, but the grubs should be up and running here as well as the dragon. So we'll probably get a trade, if nothing else. I think it might be just a 3-3 there as Fluxu. They've got a little more control over that top side, but on the bottom side, that is where Scary is right now. But maybe looking to make something happen in the mid lane, push this one out to make it a little bit easier to do the business in the rivers. RMC, any composition you give a little more favor to as far as the early game skirmishing?
I think it just comes down to how the fights are executed. If Fluxu 7 W7M can split up Leviathan, they can win it. But if you're looking front to back, it's going to get real risky. Pro Delta and CEO already moving through the mid lane. There's a lot of AoE with those champions there. Ooh. The arrow splits the uprights. That's a huge initiate from the Fluxu W7M down and out.
Yep, they don't have a lot of that. Pop Blossom going forward, but gets absolutely nothing out of it. Now Gang's going to make him pay. There goes the ultimate from Callista. Going to bail out the support. Cody coming up there with the Weaver's Wall. And we all take a deep breath as the 4th grub was grabbed there by Leviathan, securing themselves that benchmark. But Fluxu W7M will get the other 2, and down onto the bottom river they go. Scary still clearing things on the top side, so not immediately committing to the dragon.
Yeah, but that's what Fluxu W7M needed for it, which said if they can split up Leviathan, they win that fight. And they did just that. Look at the way they scattered, right? CEO and Pro Delta heading down to the bot side, Zothvi and Scary being zoned up to the top side. And because of that, they don't have all the AoE spells that they wanted available. They missed that on the attempted engage, and because of that, Fluxu W7M able to secure some grubs for themselves. And more importantly as well, they slow things down. Because those ults are down for Leviathan, they're going to wait for it before they go for the dragon. And for Fluxu W7M, that's just more time given to them to be able to set up. Their ults will be back up as well. That will give them yet another opportunity to look for a pick pre-objective fight.
Yeah, got to keep an eye on all those ultimates. I mean, the 2 that you're looking at, that I'm looking at personally, right? I mean, with a little more emphasis on Fluxu W7M, just because they've got fewer tools, right? It is that Paranoia. It is that Enchanted Crystal Arrow. The rest of it is just icing on the cake. The rest of it is follow-ups as the Between Worlds comes out with the Glacial Prison. So, 1 more each on that side, Scary, with 1 less tool to be able to go in here. But again, without the arrow, that's going to come up in a little bit, but without the Paranoia as well, not really a good way back into this one for Fluxu W7M either. They're down about 1,000 gold here. They do have a couple key item spikes up and running first. Actually, I mean, not first. They have them as well. Fu with the, well, okay, there we go. There's the Hextech, oh, what the, I can't remember the name of the stupid item.
I was going to call it Hex Elevator, but that's not it.
The
Hextech Plate.
Hex Plate? The Nocturne item. The one that Nocturne likes. But yeah, that's a tough one. That's my bad. I should know that. But yeah, I think everyone was kind of waiting for those first big item spikes, and now with that dragon just still waiting there, Fu, he might be in a little bit of trouble here as he gets onto Cody. Cody's got no mana, but Fu doesn't have a ton himself. So going forward, Zothvi getting onto Hedon. Ultimate for ultimate traded here. Zothvi taken very, very low. It's a lot of fire on the side of Hedon. Shutdown comes in onto Hedon at the expense of Zothvi.
Okay, that was a choice from Zothvi as well. I don't know if it's because he buffered it incorrectly, but he flashed and moved in towards the Rumble. Like, you flashed away. You are not going to win that fight, and that's now flashed down. Death given over as well. Hedon's going to enjoy that. Fluxu W7M going to be very happy with that series of events, with how it's happened. It's also kind of bought them time to be able to pick up the dragon on the bot side while all of that happens. So, you know, that's 2 major objectives in their favor. The feat of objectives is starting to favor them as well if they are able to secure that, and getting that 1 kill. Hey, you know, the next fight could very well decide who gets the feat of warfare. We get a replay on that, and Zothvi's the one that kicks it off. This time, though, unfortunately not able to get out of the equalizer, and the flames are eating all of that. And right here, that flash was weird. He turned around. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was because of the Atakan wall that kind of made him path really weirdly. I don't know. To be honest, I don't think he gets out either way, but that was just serving himself up on a silver platter.
I think maybe he gets out if he just flashes like in the direction of his tower. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like it's look, Rumble. He's got no flash, right? He's got no ultimate. The flame spitter was on cooldown, so like, I don't know, man. I think there was a way out of that one, but I think that he thought he was gonna be able to flash over the Atakan wall. That must have been it.
Yeah, unfortunately, he was wrong, and he paid the iron price. Now, we have been told, Super Brand, thank you, Experimental Hexblade. We were all around the actual name.
Yep, we were beating around the bush, but, you know what they say about, horseshoes and hand grenades and whatnot. Still incorrect. Speaking of ganks, again, still haven't seen him kind of rip that ultimate. I have maybe an unreasonably high bar for how often I want the paranoia to go off, but I still believe that it should be just ripped kind of as often as you can. Ganks waiting there. And again, this isn't a good spot to do it here, but, start something up, right? Just pick a fight around the grubs, and then if you've got your vision set up, you literally can turn out the lights and control the vision fully, get onto a backline target there, right? CEO doesn't have his flash up, so you've got an opportunity there to make something happen.
And props to Leviathan. I think the way they're doing the lane assignments is partially why Ganks is struggling to find the ultimate. CEO is always being covered by Prodelta and Scary, and we've seen it before that if you go in on them with that much CC, it's really tough. Ganks actually gets caught out.
Oh, Glacial Prison onto him. It's tough when you are the aggressed on Tether. Gonna find a target there and eliminate CEO. Caught out of position there. Pop Blossom is gonna get onto Ganks, but really not much else. Pro Delta just gets ripped through. Hedon shows up at the right place at the right time. Between wards, his Fu goes forward there. The equalizer is money there from Hedon. And Fluxu W7M find a way into this game.
Despite that, though, 4-4, they are still not up in gold because Zothvi just barely able to equalize and get first turret in the bot lane, able to secure that one to keep Leviathan just barely ahead. But 4-4, that's a great sign for Fluxu W7M. I love the patience on that engage. Instead of using the paranoia offensively, they use it defensively. Ganks gets caught initially, but that actually causes CEO to be out of position. He over-aggressed and couldn't find the kill. And 4-4, when all is said and done, not only did Fluxu W7M show signs of life, kind of almost pull a hit there, but I think it scared me enough to cure my hiccups.
Huge. The hiccups are gone. I had kind of forgotten about him, honestly. Yeah, Scary. Yeah. That should have been a kill just lined up there. And you see CEO had to commit forward because he wasn't in the right place to follow up on that, and it ended up biting him in the butt.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I almost feel like Prodelta should have just gone in harder with him, used the Pop Blossom to cut off Marvin a little bit better there, but instead he used it to try and bail out Cody and Scary, and it kind of doesn't work. Like, Scary lives, but everybody else got wiped. And Hedon, that Rumble equalizer right there, he knows he did good. He knows that was a perfect choke point for him to get off, and we'll have to keep our eyes on that as well, because again, he doesn't have good setup from this team, so Hedon has to find perfect corridors. We might not see the equalizer in the middle of the fight anymore, but used more as cleanup or to stop avenues for Leviathan to disengage when losing.
Yeah, a little more zone control, right? And then that's part of what makes that ultimate so powerful. It just creates a no-fly zone, right? If you step in with the burn of the Leandries as well, and once that Shadow Flame comes in, which I assume or I hope is going to be that second item, I think that item is, it's just so strong, gives you so much effing damage. It's a death sentence. If you step on the red carpet, you just get absolutely ripped through. Now, Fluxu W7M, they're in a really interesting spot here, RMC. A spot that they haven't really been in the entirety of 2025 here. They don't actually have a lead, but it feels like they have a lead. They've got the two dragons. Two grubs, okay, but they've got the feet, and they are first here on this dragon. And they actually set it up okay here, right? They're kind of wiping out the rest of the vision. There really isn't a ton that Leviathan can do. They've got that ward and that Tri-Brush, but that's kind of it.
And this is the first time this year we've seen Fluxu W7M actually be close or pretty much even at the 20-minute mark. In fact, their stats from Split 1, granted it was only 4 games, they were negative 2,228 gold difference at 15. That means they were almost down, and they were down every single game they played. So this is the first time we're kind of seeing them close, and I'm liking the look. They're being proactive. They're setting up for the dragon. They've sent Fu to cross-map with teleport up and available. It's textbook. It's what you love to see. And if you saw Hedon, Marvin, and Geeks play back in CBLOL Academy last year, they know how to play from a winning state. So I'm glad that they're finally actually able to show that.
Well, let's see if they can do that. Leviathan making heavy weather of this second time. That's not how I use that expression. That's a negative. This is very positive. Able to ram Shelly into that second tower as Fu and Geeks just kind of watch it be taken apart here. Leviathan, they found an avenue in, just kind of caught Fluxo with their pants down a little bit. Third tower of the game for them, 2 in the top lane, 1 in the bottom lane, but that mid-tier 1 still crucially has not been cracked open, and that's why you see CEO kind of parked in front of it. That's the last bastion.
And I feel like we've seen this plenty where AD carriers are just left, parked in front of the mid lane turret, as you call it, and then they just get ganked and killed. And Fluxo W7M, I think they're starting to hit the point where they could do that. Land an arrow, ganks can be flying in from half a screen away. If Hidan's anywhere nearby, they just lay out the red carpet and CEO might just get melted. But for now, he's able to soak up, try and catch up load of CS. Giggs has to flash away to not get picked. And 4v4, both these teams, we talked about before, they're scrappy, they know how to turn games around, and the game is still dead even. As much as Leviathan did get that top lane inner turret, Fluxo W7M got soul point in exchange. So I think Fluxo W7M, they're very, very happy with that particular trade. This soul is permanent. Their top side inner turret, that's gold right now. Fluxo W7M will look to equalize it at some point during this game.
Yeah, Atacana is what they have eyes on here. But I hear you, RMC, you've got a win condition on both sides here, right? I mean, and you've got these long lanes to play around for Leviathan. Is it more like that just creates extra map pressure for you, or do you see Leviathan actually sending Zothvi up there and being that side lane threat?
So technically it should favor Leviathan. Jace has the winning side of that split push matchup, and I don't think Fu can really handle Jace either in the 1v1. And you also have a global to be able to match Gang's paranoia, so it's not like Fluxo W7M get that much more from their global. However, because Leviathan is not as far ahead as they'd like, normally speaking, I actually don't know how effective the Zothvi split push is going to be right now. Fluxo W7M has shown a willingness to just force engages onto the rest of Leviathan, and CEO specifically is the guy I'm looking at. If he's not able to pop off and be a teamfight monster, then Leviathan can't afford to leave Zothvi split pushing. They need the Chase actually in the fight to be the sustained AD damage when CEO is just kind of getting busted early with the sheer amount of CC slows and ways to stop the short range AD carry.
Yeah, and to your point, CEO hasn't really had the impact on this game that we wanted to see him have. He's been down CS kind of the whole time. Yes, it was a rough lane matchup, but they really couldn't get anything going. There's a little bit of fisticuffs in the top river, breaks out, but nothing doing there. Yeah, CEO, I mean, it's rough, right? I mean, playing Kalista into this composition, into a Rumble, right? Into an Ashe, and Fu setting up the Between Worlds as well. It is a really rough composition for Kalista to play into.
And in a way, I feel like this might be good for the LTA South as a whole. Maybe we don't need to see Perma Kalista bans anymore. I honestly didn't really fully understand it prior when Ashe was constantly available. Ashe Braum being a bot lane, which can absolutely mess with a Kalista. And Marvin is showing us that right now. Marvin as well, a very interesting player. This guy's basically on the fast track, right? 2023, he wasn't even playing League of Legends competitively. 2024, he makes his debut in CBLOL Academy, wins his first split in Brazil. In second split, comes in second domestically, but wins the entire Tier 2 America's Challenger tournament. That means he beat North American Tier 2 teams. And then fast forward to 2025, he's here in LTA South in Tier 1, had a rough split 1, but split 2, looking much better already. Partnering very well with Giggs, his support from all the way in CBLOL Academy, and right now, he's kind of a big reason why they have that lead. Look at his KP, 75% KP, but the highest on the team, tied with a lot of members. Fluxo W7M, they're moving together. The arrow looking for another KP, not able to find Cody.
I was about to hit Cody at the last second. He clicked down on his screen. Yeah, no, this Fluxo W7M bot lane, their story is an awesome one, right? Geek's a little more experienced, but Marvin, he was kind of the next hot thing. Hold up a second here, Scary, going right in there onto Gangs, pops the Glacial Prison as well. Cody there to match Pro Del, taking it to the backline with the Pop Blossom, able to buy some time there with the Kalista ultimate, but CEO is go down by the hands of Hidan. Marvin going forward, trying to get a little bit of damage down, Dothby with the double kill, and now Cody trying to keep the members of Fluxo W7M pinned in between those two places. Pro Delta has tried to get out with his life. It will not be enough. It's a killing spree for Fu. Cody and Zothby still alive though, but Fu is huge right now. He's got 2 items, a whole lot of health, and enough mana to make this an issue. Now, whether he chases Cody and Zothby around, let's see. They're on the wrong sides of the map. Here comes that TP. As Cody going to come in and try to help his opposite, or excuse me, Hidan going to come in and try to help out his opposite number against them. Fu going forward. Maybe that flash was unnecessary, but it's an ace for Fluxo W7M.
I think that's the second time we've seen Zothby kind of go the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Blast cone, popping him just like the Flash did in a very awkward spot. And for Leviathan, that fight's really, really bad as well. So Rose.
There you
Out
go.
of style points don't count, unfortunately. They certainly don't help the LTA fantasy, that's for sure. And for Leviathan, the fact that Cody and Zothie took so long to die is actually a massive detriment to them. Because while all that was happening, Marvin gets to push in mid lane. He gets the outer mid lane turret from Leviathan. And because of the decent deaths from Zothie and Cody, they're not up as this soul is being taken by Fluxu W7M for free, and Leviathan is just so far behind. The fight starts off really well for Leviathan. Scary sees the angle, but look at CEO once again. The Kalista is so short range that he has to step up, and he gets melted by the Ashe. He's sitting on the equalizer that you're talking about. CEO gets no damage in there, and now Zothie is normally the backup. Jace can act as an AD carry in fights, but Zothie was off chasing on the side, looking for ganks, and sure, you get the kill, but then now what, right? Like the fight's kind of already over, and right here, Cody should just full send it and try and buy time for Zothie to get a recall off. Instead, both of them are playing with Fu, and Fu is more than happy to engage this. He's full health. They're on his side of the map. He knows he's got backup. Even if he done walked out of base, same outcome would have happened right here. Fu is happy to sit there and just distract the entire time.
Yeah, and Hedon, if you can read lips there, it's three. The English translation is 3 words that start with L, F, and G. So he's really fired up. He's having a great performance. I mean, and it's come on the back of these solo laners, right? These Hedon and Fu, right? The 2 most experienced members on this team as far as LTA South action is concerned, Tier 1 is concerned, and they are having incredible games right now. Fu on this Aurora looks great. He's been pretty much unchallenged. Hedon's equalizers have been money. Now Leviathan here, this, again, Leviathan, Atakan, can be a bit of a bait. You have to be very careful with how you start this objective off. It takes a lot longer than you think to take it down. I think generally teams have gotten better at it, but scary. I mean, he's just frothing at the mouth. He's chomping at the
go for the
bit.
steal.
Yep. Initial prison doesn't land, but the Enchanted Crystal Arrow not going to find its mark either. The equalizer goes down, and with the lights turned off, Ganks buys enough time there. Very nicely done with that ultimate. Zothie, okay, I mean, he tried.
Okay, I was really worried for Zothie right there because the rest of Leviathan was leaving.
Yeah,
The
they
call
backed
was,
out.
hey, yeah, we're out. And Zothie said, no, I'm going in. And he went in. Thankfully, was strong enough, was tanky enough to be able to get out. But Fluxu W7M, really good measured play onto the Atakan. At no point were they panicking. They see Scary the entire time, but they know, hey, we're hitting the critical point. 3k health, turn off the lights. And that was where Leviathan really struggled. Fu was looking for the flank as well and might find a solo.
Yeah, he very well might. Cody is in, he's 2 levels down, man, but just opted not to kind of go all the way in on that one. Didn't exactly know where Scary was. No need to give over this lead right now, which, I mean, look, the soul is huge, and they've gotten some map pressure back, but they are only up 1,500 gold, right? And at this stage of the game, that's I'm not gonna say negligible, but exactly, it is wild. It is stunning that they're only up 1,500 gold. That's criminal.
You know what? I'll say it. That is negligible. 1,500 is not even a full item. It's a half an item coming through and spread across 5 members. It's components. I am actually shocked that's the entire gold differential because Fluxu W7M have felt like in such control of the game for the last 10 minutes or so that I thought they'd be much further ahead, and that does make things interesting because Leviathan still has a lot of team fight potential, but they need a team fight and not get caught out.
Yep.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, both these compositions can have they have really good pick potential, right? They can 100 to 0 somebody pretty quick. I'd say Fluxu W7M have a little more 100 to 0 in them, a little more raw damage for my money, especially with CEO. Again, just maybe through no fault of his own, not really having an impact in this one so far. Scary getting hit by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. The equalizer goes down as well, and CEO has to play completely backwards. The wall is going to buy a lot of time. Big old TP there from Fu. Can he make the most of it? CEO gets ripped through. Ganks will go down. No, he will not. And they've got it. Remember, they've got the Atakan buff here, so this is just giving over gold. It won't be kills. Zothie going to take a tower on the other side of the map. They're just buying time for him. It was a 5v4, and Fluxu W7M, they grow their gold lead to, just kidding, it went down somehow.
How is that? That's insane. That they were 1,500. It's because of the turret that Zothie took on the side, and another turret he took on the side. Hedon's actually forced completely out. Hedon TP'd into the top lane and had to go running right back to base. Podelta and Cody, can they stop the pair? They don't need to steal it. If they can stop it, that's a win for Leviathan.
Yeah, and Ganks and Marvin are being taken pretty low. Fu's not on the Baron, right? He's a ton of damage, but he's playing bodyguard right now. Now Zothie's here. They could flip this game right here, right now, RMC. Ganks is really low. He's got to get the heck out of Dodge. Come on, man. Oh, my goodness. Oh, okay, Marvin is going to take over tanking it. Hedon has joined the fight again. Ganks goes down. Zothie picks him off on the other side, but he will go down as well. And now, finally, they've got a better foothold on this one. But do they abandon it and just chase Cody? It looks like that's what they're going to do.
They can't do it. It's too low. Cody tried to TP away, but Arrow and Between Worlds to secure, make sure that he's not getting away. And Fluxy W7M, they can't get the Baron, but it's fine. They get the kills instead. Now, for what a messy fight. And it's hard to calculate who actually came out ahead in that exchange that we just saw, because Fluxy W7M, sure, they get the kills, right? That's more gold in their pocket. They managed to nullify the gold that Zothby got on the push, but Zothby now has an exposed inhibitor to play on in the bot lane with teleport. And he also did manage to stop the Baron when all said and done, so it's still pretty damn even. This got so clutch, and the TP from Zothby I thought was going to be able to turn things around. The problem, though, is Hidan gets to walk all the way from base, and that's the big thing. The moment he showed up, this was not equal. This was not okay. And Pro Delta as well kind of just walked faceways into Hidan. If you tried to set up an ambush in Hidan, maybe you can kill him and turn things around. Zothby was zoning off 3 on the other side, but the moment you kind of got caught out and Hidan got to put that damage down, it was kind of game over. And losing all 3 members was, well, worst case scenario in a situation that's already been somewhat salvaged. So when we're still in a pretty even state, Baron is still on the table. Fluxy W7M could still struggle trying to take that objective against a teamfight team.
The amount of gold that Zothby and company have made up just through taking towers. I mean, you've got a long lane to play through there. That inhib tower is down. And now Leviathan actually on the Baron here. Fluxy W7M going, wait a minute, we were in control of that. What the heck happened? Great Weaver's Wall as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow goes out. Equalizer goes down, able to hit from a long, long way away. Gets trying to go in. Can he swipe it? He will not. Leviathan get it, but just barely. Wall goes down, and that means the fight is starting in earnest. Scary take it very, very low. He has to get the heck out of dodge. Cody trying to do some damage with Fluxy W7M. They are the aggressive CEO. Okay. Left all alone. He got one, but oh boy, that was tough positioning from the Leviathan AD carry. A double kill for Hidan. My dude, he's got 8 kills. He does so much damage.
And Elder is on the table. Baron was taken by Leviathan, but it might have cost them the even bigger objective. No TP available for Zothby. Cody already used his Weaver's Wall as well. So Leviathan, how are they going to get here to contest this in any meaningful way? Fluxy W7M, they are in the dark. They've turned off the lights. They started. Please tell me they're doing it. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Pulled it out of the pit, and Scary and the rest of Leviathan now know that. Let's see what sort of contest they can put up here. Scary has Hex Flash, but there's going to be a one-way trip. Can he swipe it away? He does not. A noble effort, but Gank secures it for Fluxy W7M, and they have added 1,000 gold to their gold lead.
Now Cody running for the hills, has Flash available, but Hidan is speeding through, actually abandons the chase. Interesting choice, and for a second, I actually believed. I really believed that maybe Scary could take it, because this is a clutch situation, and this is Leviathan's comfort zone, pretty much. Ganks, though, getting the vision down on that, using Paranoia to get in, was really, really close, and this is the strength of the Fluxy W7M. This is why the gold lies, because despite the fact that gold is even, Fluxy W7M forced the fight, and they're comfortable with it. CEO feels like for the first time this game finally actually gets in there, trades a kill for a kill, and normally that's not ideal. AD carry for support, not worth. But when CEO, that's his first kill, you take that, because that means, at least it means he's somewhat relevant in the game. He's managed to do something, anything, after a horrific early game.
He's getting a little bit in there, but the team fights are going to have to be a little more structured if they want their AD carry to pop off now. Thankfully, look, the gold lead is not insurmountable, and Zothby, he is huge. He's got 4 items. He's actually the richest quote-unquote member of anybody. He's got more items than anybody, but Hidan, 3 items and a 13 out of 17 KP there, and you saw the damage graph came up on the left there with Between Worlds pop. Zothby gonna get hit by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Ganks turns off the lights, but they think the better of it, in my opinion, and do not pull the trigger there.
And that's crazy to me, that Zothby is still somehow richer than Hidan, when Hidan's 8-1 and 5. With a 700 gold bounty, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. Maybe some of the items he's grabbing are just cheaper, I guess. The Death Cap is expensive, Shadow Flame is expensive. Hidan did dump some gold into the upgraded boots, to be fair, as well. So we're getting to the bottom of this discrepancy, but still, Zothby is up 700 gold on him. I make it make sense.
Yeah. And you know what? Maybe it's just down to the fact, that Zothby has been split pushing on the side lanes, picking up all the gold, getting all the turrets. Yeah. And now you're kind of faced with a bit of a tough decision for Leviathan, because you look at everybody else on that team, right? Like, Zothby's almost maxed out. He's got 1 item slot left. Once he upgrades the Serrated Dirk, he's full build. You contrast that to Scary, to Cody, to CEO, who are 3 items and shoes. they are very, very far behind the curve. So you want to funnel the gold in towards Cody, who can potentially be a pick style champion later on that might be able to win you the game, or try and get it onto CEO so that he can be relevant in team fights. But they can't split push the way Zothvi can, and they can't be safe. And Zothvi kind of wants to keep split pushing even if he's got all the gold to try and take an inhibitor and actually get that pressure down to the back. Because if they don't get pressure from Zothvi, Fluxy W7M can actually focus on the team fights. And while their comp isn't designed the best for it, Leviathan's just so far behind.
Oh, nice pick there, potentially onto Geeks. Big old shield blown. Wow. Yeah, that is quite the shield. But turning out the lights, Ganks just trying to keep his support safe. He's got level 3 ultimate, and with the experimental Hexblade, don't know if you know that's the name of that item, RMC, that cooldown is going to be pretty dang low, so I'm okay with him ripping it like that.
Yeah, using it defensively. And no, I didn't know the name of that item, so I'm glad that, you've clarified that for me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but Fluxy W7, they're still getting incremental leads, right, with all these plays that are coming through so far. And because of the experimental Hexblade as well, the cooldown should be shorter on Paranoia than it is in the Glacial Prison, so potentially you could look to try and desync those ultimates, maybe. I say that, but I'm actually looking at the ult cooldowns right now, and they're pretty even. I'm very surprised. There's not ability based on Scary, so yeah, is the base for Glacial Prison that much lower than Paranoia?
I don't know. I guess not. Because, yeah, that ultimate has a sneaky low cooldown time as just hoovers himself right back to base, does Zothvi. Ganks not able to get on him. And I'm seeing an interesting spot now. I mean, Leviathan, right, they waited out that Elder buff, and now got a couple minutes until that comes up again. I don't see them really picking a fight, right? I think they're if I'm Leviathan, for me, I am waiting on Fluxy W7M to make a mistake. I'm waiting on them to not set up vision correctly. I'm waiting on them to shoot themselves in the foot and give Leviathan an opening on which to go in.
Problem is, I don't know if Leviathan are able to capitalize on those mistakes. Paranoia has been an incredible tool for making sure that Leviathan can't actually punish people who are out of position. And it's not even just the risk of ganks coming in. I think they'd be happy if ganks actually took the second part of Paranoia and looked for the engage. It's just more, they don't know who's where anymore, and sometimes they lose track of the target. So if Leviathan are waiting, they might have to wait a long, long time to find the ideal setups. I do think they actually do need to pull the trigger, and you can't be assuming Fluxy W7M will make a mistake. If this is split one, sure. But this game, at least, Fluxy W7M have hardly put a foot out of line. And if you just keep giving them the engage opportunities, they're going to find one on their terms. Wherefore, the Elder is off, the Baron is off. And in fact, Baron's about to respawn. So Leviathan, they should be here. They should be setting up. Even if you don't want the fight, you don't want to be given this for free.
No. No, you can't. You've got to be able to contest something, or at least, unless your name is Zothvi, I suppose, because he is going to reset his perch there, going to take an inhibitor. Weaver's Wall comes out. Yeah, just going to rip right that inhibitor, and Fluxy W7M, they are going to take the Baron, but they lose an inhibitor for it, and nobody else dies, and now it's Fluxy W7M's job to make something happen with this one. Congrats, you got your biggest lead of the year, of the year of our Lord 2025. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, their only game where they're up and ahead, and they've been still increasing quickly increasing the gold lead. I mean, we're up to 5,500 at this point. Now, for Leviathan, what they did by sacrificing that Baron is to set up for the Elder. So this one, they absolutely have to fight for. It's spawning in 10 seconds. They've cleared out all the vision for now. Prod's making it very clear that's him and not Sejuani right now, so...
Oh, the Enchanted Crystal Arrow hits, and they might be in trouble here. Fluxy W7M, it was Leviathan that set it up, and now Pro Delta with a big old pop also buys a lot of time. CEO, he's left all alone. He's got no backup. He was there with so much CC, but nothing else to help him out. It's a 1-for-0 so far as Ganks does go down, but Fluxy W7M, they've got Leviathan on the ropes here as CEO is completely out of this fight. So is Cody. He's trying to get back to base, come back with a recall. Pro Delta's trying to body block for him a little bit, sends out the Sejuani clone. Very nicely done. He can come back with a TP should he choose to, and indeed that's exactly what he's going to do. The fight is for Elder, but the fight might be just for the sake of fighting right now. Leviathan with a big opportunity to flip and even win this game right here, right now, could decide if they can get their first win of 2025. They put together a good fight so far. Gee's going to eat the Glacial Prison. Zothvi looking for a big flank. Bumps onto Geeks, and Marvin will be next on the menu. Zothvi with the money angle and a shutdown for CEO. Fluxy W7M, when your code is a Wi-Fi password, maybe you just can't have nice things.
Well, Leviathan are wired up and they're in their comfort zone for it. For the bigger the deficit, the better they play. They just keep clutching it out. Cody hopping in, actually separating out Fu. Can they find the pick? Not enough for now, but they'll find the push. they don't have Baron on their side. It's the Elder versus the Baron, and the minions are getting cleared out. So I don't know if Leviathan can actually push in and get anything. I think they'd be lucky if they get a single Nexus turret.
Let's see. Yeah, the waves are not on their side, right? They do get a super minion here between worlds pop, but that turn is going down so fast. Cody, he can stay safe, and he and Pro Delta can provide that setup. CEO, finally, with the setup he needs. And Fluxu W7M, they're going to have nightmares about this one. This is going to be playing on the backs of their eyelids for a long time. They had it completely in their hands, and they threw it. Zothvi with a game-saving play, and they finally allow CEO to do the damage they want. I mean, RMC, you hope that for Fluxu W7M, this is one of those things that for a young team, right, for a team that is still trying to gel, there are a lot of positives to take away, but man, oh man, that was tough to watch.
I can't, bro. I just can't right now. I am still processing how that ended. I was looking at their health bars as they finished off the Nexus, and they were so incredibly low. They were basically dead, but Leviathan, like, how do you even describe this team? Like, I was thinking, like, are they, like, loud in the past, you know, hit 40 minutes and they'll just win the game? Not really. Like, they just find that one critical team fight and just bounce right back in. And they did it twice in a row at Elder, in the base, once again, clutching it up when it mattered, finding the picks. And, man, it's just nightmare. Like, Leviathan is going to traumatize every team they play against if this is how they play.
Yeah, no, but you can never count them out. And like you said, that's great for Leviathan, but it's like, how good actually are they? We know they're good, right? They're top 6, but, like, what is up with this team, right? And again, does that tell us more about Leviathan, or does it tell us more about Fluxu W7M? Because Marvin and Geeks were in a bad spot there, but Zothvi, I mean, he punished them really well for it. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I feel like they've got to be set up a little better right around that fight. You can't just be like sitting there with absolutely no protection when Zothvi is unaccounted for. You haven't swept that, right? You have to know that that's a possibility.
Fair enough, and part of it, me almost feels like Fluxu W7M got lulled by the long con of Leviathan, because every single fight before that, where's Zothvi? He's never at the fights. In fact, that was my criticism. It just felt so decent. Like, Zothvi wants to split push, the team wants to back out. Zothvi wants to go in, the team's just like, nah, we're peacing out. Right? It just felt so disconnected. And then, because I feel like they got baited into it, 40 minutes in, suddenly Zothvi's just like, no, I'm on the same page as the team. We end it now. They find one critical fight. He brings all the gold. He brings the damage. He brings the win. And for Fluxu W7M, I'm crying for them right now. That game was good from them. It was actually a good game. Their macro was clean. It was actually cleaner than Leviathan's. Much like Furious was yesterday. But one bad fight, everything just goes south for this team, right? It's like, oh, they were so close.
It was so close. Yeah, object permanence is a crazy thing. Once Fluxu W7M get their heads around that, man, this team could really make some noise in the LTA South. For now, though, they'll have to go back to the drawing board. They will have easier games coming up. Well, I mean, some easier games. I don't know, man. I mean, you took down the two... yeah, actually, as I say that, those were two beatable opponents. Never mind. Everything's going to get infinitely harder for Fluxu W7M. So, Toros, hold on there. We're going to take it to a quick break. When we come back, the match of the day, Pain versus Loud. I think I know how this one is going to go, but you never know with these two teams. They've got a lot of history. We'll break that down for you and more when we come back. For the last game of the day, we bring you O Clásico das Multidões, the Clásico of the Multitudes, i.e. just the biggest two fan bases. These two teams really hate each other, and I think it has only been amplified more and more now that Loud are the Shambles franchise. They have taken the page right out of Payne's book, and they are a mess. Let's get that Loud roster up on the screen for you, because these two teams, look, they've got a lot of bad blood going all the way back to 2021. Loud went through a lot of changes, back in 2021 when they poached, essentially, the top laner and mid laner that up until last year had given Payne their most recent title, and built around them, and just summarily just handed it to Payne over and over and over and over again, won 4 straight finals, all against Payne. Payne got to 6 straight finals, and finally on that 6th one, they won. They broke the curse. They didn't get to do it over Loud, but they did dump them 3-0 into the lower bracket late last year, so, hey, that's good enough. Payne's biggest hater, Shinny, is the juggler now for Loud after they disposed of Wiz and Winsome, They brought back Redbird, who they did win a title with, but Tino's and Robo, they've been the pillars of this franchise, really ever since they burst onto the scene there. All they've done is win, and look, there's a little gap in their resume right now, but RFC, after whatever the hell happened yesterday, oh my goodness, this team has quite the mountain to climb.
Yeah, and it's shocking, right? Shinny and Redbird are players who've played with each other before. They know each other. I think it was back on Say Kaboom that they played together, but like they
INTZ 2020. They won.
Okay.
Yeah, they won CB LOL against Tino's and Robo, against that Payne team.
True. Yes, I mean Redbird's with three separate championships against 3 different Payne squads and won them all, right? He's got some record for that. Yep. So props to him for doing that. But today it's a question of whether he can do it again. So far this year, the teams have met up 3 times or 4 times already. Once in the group stage and split 1, Payne winning that one 2-1, and then in a tiebreaker, a best of 1, Loud walking away that win. So they're 2-2 on the year. So whoever wins this gets bragging rights for the next little while.
So this is the best of 5 decider, essentially. And Loud, if they do lock in this misfortune, they are relying on team cohesion to try to really get the most out of this one. Again, Rumble. Robo on this Rumble. That's going to trip me up there. But there's going to be, you need a lot of setup for both of these champions to get as much value out of them as they can. On this side, Wiser. Again, he and Robo have gone toe-to-toe more times. They know each other better than they know themselves, I think, at this point. And their tendencies, these two are always, they're like the Rock'em Sock'em robots. All they do is just throw hands, throw fisticuffs. Skarner will be locked in here for Shinny. Again, you see the composition kind of, coming to fruition here.
Yeah, and I think Skarner, one of Shinny's favorite champions, at least last split was last year, pardon me, was abusing it back on Fluxu, just spamming it non-stop. So very comfortable on the champion. It's decent setup for Rumble and Misfortune. I'd still like to see a little bit more easier engage from the support role, something to back them up as well. I'd be okay with the Alistair, but I do think something like a Leon and Autos would be even nicer. Pain, though, on the other hand, their composition is on the other end of the spectrum. It's not about the team fight. We've picked carries and we've picked Ivern to set up our carries already, and I like that idea. You can pick anything you want in the bot lane now, and it will round out your composition pretty much. Ideally, though, I'd like to see Titan on something with a little bit more mobility, so that Carioca doesn't have to split his attention 3 ways. Titan can do his own thing, and then you can focus on keeping Roamer and Weiser alive a little bit better.
That's usually how Titan likes to operate, right? He likes being with something with a little bit of agency, right? The Titan's Ezreal is famous, right, for a reason. He loves that style of champion, and I think with this composition, absolutely. I think I understand Corki is a really strong champion. You can carry games on it. I feel like Titan is wasted on Corki. Give it to Roamer. Again, this dude is still betting into this team. Pain Gaming, they've been around since 2012, right? Since I was a freshman in high school, and they have had 3 mid laners ever. Roamer is the 4th one, and Titan indeed going to be on the Ezreal. You absolutely love to see it. Carioca's going to have his work cut out for him because he's got, like you said, kind of 3 babies to make sure that they all grow up big and strong, and they get their formula, and they get their naps, and they get their tummy time. But any single one of them can come and carry this game.
Yeah, well, I don't think Titan needs Carioca to babysit him. Titan's done his own thing all along, and he's got Curry in his back pocket. I'd love to see Curry.
Curry's his
pick up
babysitter.
something.
You're right.
Yeah, pick up something like a Leona right now, so that you can mess up the Misfortune in that lane. I know Ezreal Leona feels like a weird bot lane, but you're not picking it for the lane. And even if you kind of are, this would be the bot lane to do it. Titan is so aggressive on any champion he plays that I could see him arcane shifting in, getting aggressive, trying to punish this Misfortune. For now, though, Loud looking to pick up their mid lane and support. They're hovering the Azir for Tinones. That's a bread and butter champion for him. And they've gone with the Alistar for Ripper, a champion he's played a lot in the past. But like I said, not the ideal setup for me for Misfortune. It's not bad by any means. And with the Skarner follow-up, it's okay.
Yeah, like I said, it's fine. Look, with the Ezreal Braum, if that is in fact the hover, right? Like you said, this is just like, it's Carioca babysits Weiser and Roamer, and then Curry babysits Titan. This is a competition that will be fought on 2 fronts, but if you can keep Titan safe, he can win you the game. At his best, he has the ceiling of best player in the league. I still believe in this man to that degree. There are other players in that competition with him, of course, but on his day, he can be the best one in the league. Now, RMC, I give the draft edge to Pain. I give the performance edge to Pain. But you know as well as anybody, there is a psychological factor when Pain plays loud. They have a Rick in them, to use an expression from across the pond. But right now, I legitimately don't think, and maybe I'm overreacting to. I am overreacting to yesterday's game 1. You know me, I believe in loud more than most. But like, if you're just distilling right now in this moment in time, just today, I don't think I have seen these 2 teams farther apart in kind of performance ever that they've matched up.
Sure, I think that. Yeah, I feel like the last time we saw this sort of discrepancy between the 2 teams was maybe back in 2021, 2022. Back when Tinones and Robo were still on Pain Gaming, and they reverse swept Loud actually, and then no, I kind of agree with you based on yesterday's performance. But yesterday's performance is just one game, and part of me can't bring myself to believe that we'll see that level of discrepancy again. Because Shinny and Ripper, I think the 2 of them connected well with each other, which we expected. But they did not connect with the rest of the team. Root, Tinones, and Robo were not following up when Shinny went in. And after yesterday's performance, we saw it on the player cam. They even replayed it slow-mo, Shinny throwing up his hands in frustration. Shinny's a very vocal guy. I am 100% sure he had words with the rest of the team after. And one way or another, it's sorted. Either we see a more subdued Shinny, or we see Robo and Tinones actually follow up. And with picks like Rumble, like Azir, following up doesn't have to be 100% commit. You can still be non-committal, play safe, while backing up Shinny on those plays.
I think that is one thing you worry about, right? I mean, Robo and Tinones. Robo's a huge personality. Tinones, he's got years and years and years and years of experience, right? Both of those guys have very specific ideas of how they want to play. And the reason that I was optimistic about this Loud roster is because of the iteration that could work, right? Which is Shinny just kind of, I don't think they need Shinny to be a leader. right? I think all these players, right, picking the direction is going to be the interesting part, right? But Shinny, to me, needs to be the facilitator of that, right? Because he can be just like, you know, maybe the go button. He can play your Maokai Sejuani's. He can do kind of that kind of stuff, right? But you do worry about the personality clashes, especially because a lot of these guys, right? I mean, look, the average age is 26, right? They're all at the tail end of their careers, right? This is kind of one last ride. This is a very desperate move, dumping Winsome and Wiz to make sure that they've got a shot at winning right now.
Yeah, and right now it's looking rough because we talk about how Loud looked yesterday. Let's talk about how Pain looked yesterday up against Isurus Estro.
Awesome.
And they absolutely crushed. Okay, Redbird gets tagged, but should be fine. Specifically, their game score yesterday, Pain stomped Isurus Estro in sub 30 minutes. 13-9, I believe, was the final score. They looked immaculate while doing it, and they knew how to snowball a lead. Now, I'm looking at their composition. It's actually a scaling composition this time. So I don't think we'll see the sort of snowball that we saw yesterday. But if we do 4-4, that's terrifying at that point. Because now that means a Gwen that needs to scale, Corki that needs to scale, and Ezreal that needs to scale can all take off pre-30 minutes and just completely take over a game. That's individual talent at the point, and then it goes back to the old discussion we always have back when we were CB Law, not LTA South, which is who can match hands with the super team, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the onus is on Pain right now. They've got the bigger fan base, the more vocal fan base, the more unforgiving fan base as well. I will say that. I did see someone on Twitter say, because Loud, right? Their Valorant team has won a world championship. They won, Masters or champs, I should say, back in 2022, and obviously Loud had the League of Legends dynasty. Right now, again, in this moment, Loud League of Legends looks shaky at best. In Valorant, they are 0-3. They're off to probably they have a huge roster turnover last time, right? The last of the core that won in 2022 is gone from that Valorant team, and so it's like the person on Twitter was like, what sort of deal with the devil did Loud make that they like traded just this immense success, a literal world title for Brazil in one of the biggest esports in the world, a dynasty in League of Legends, and now both teams are just, on the verge of disaster.
Is it that different from any other world champion deal with the devil? I feel like that happens a lot, right? Like you find a ton of success and then you tend to fall off. There's a tide in these sort of things, right? And they had their peak and now it feels like they're hitting their trough. The problem for Loud, though, is that it doesn't feel like they should be hitting their trough with this roster. Sure, you've lost Croc, but Shinny is a really, really good jungler who you picked up to try and make this sort of thing happen. You lost Seos, but you still won a championship with Redbird, so that shouldn't be the issue. And then we're seeing heavy trades between Roamer and Tinones. And you still have Tinones and Robo, and that was the core. And Root. That's the core. That's the
you still got Root, man. Again, you want to talk about a guy that has, that can be mentioned in the same breath, the best player in LTA South? That's Root, baby.
Sure. And with Root, this, as has been mentioned, this is his final year. I'm a little bit concerned for him because last year, Payne kind of messed with Croc on his last split. He wanted to win a championship on the way out. Well, he didn't get it. Titan using the barrier for a trade. Wow.
My goat.
I don't know if that's going to come back and bite him. He took a lot of minion damage, though.
Yeah, Titan, always that's always Titan, baby. But look, hey, he's forcing Redbird out of the lane, so fair enough, right? Who's the Joker now, right?
Well, Joker flopped, so not a great sign for Shinny. I still think of him as a Joker.
Was good.
Yeah, true. Okay, maybe
look. I didn't see either of them. I'm parroting opinions I saw on the internet.
Enough. You know what? That's appropriate. I feel like that. This is the internet after all. It's just one big echo chamber. Everybody in the chat's the same person, right? It's all the same account.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Okay.
TP's coming in from Roamer, getting back to lane, as well as everybody just kind of using that first recall. TP tears have come in, and not actual tears of the guy, not yet for Pain, because I predicted Loud to win this game, not because I think they're the better team, not because I think they're going to perform better on the day, but because again I think there is some hoodoo with Pain whenever they play Loud. But I mean, you've got to be feeling really good after taking down this SSR the way you did and watching Loud just kind of puke all over themselves against Red yesterday. This is your absolute best opportunity to play this out. But like you said, RMC, you do have a scaling composition here, right? So I'd be surprised if you saw the same execution and kind of plan of attack as you did against Asurus Estral.
For sure. And so far, though, we are seeing a very similar setup, right? Where the lane rotations that came through from Pain, spot on as well, same timing. Robo choosing to go in on this, but yeah, that's the big difference in summoners right there. The fact that one thing we didn't touch on, Wiser taking the combat summoner, he's running the exhaust, not the flash, not the ghost, because he knows that Robo wants to engage onto him, so they're punishing that way. But going back to the original point, Pain, following the same game plan, they had the early lane swap. Props to Loud though, they did their homework and they were able to match immediately. The TP is being used as well, the same way Pain is, to just make sure that they don't fall behind in the tempo and they're not giving up objectives for free.
Yeah, and for Loud, right, like you said, they've got a lane in, I mean, in the top lane and the bottom lane, right, that can take advantage of that and can create some havoc. Lane swap has come through here. And we're seeing that the lane swap is, the evil lane swap is dead. The good lane swap is still here. I'm okay with this. You want to move everybody around the map? Okay, whatever, right? You want to prioritize different objectives? Great. That's, you know, that's all well and good. Potential dive coming in here. Equalizer cuts Wiser's escape off, and he's got to do it the old-fashioned way. First blood. Shinny should survive this. Those towers hit like a truck, but they will be okay. First blood over to Loud.
Yeah, really nice and clean, and that comes off of Robo specifically. The fact that Robo managed to get the shove on, despite the fact that he lost a trade and got exhausted, hit level 6 first. Without that equalizer, that dive is a lot more complicated, and maybe we see a 1-for-1 trade. But Wiser was not 6 yet, had no needle work to slow anybody down or get that damage out, and because of that, Loud, they get the first blood. They'll get Dragon to answer. They complete sack the top side, which I think is the right call when Titan and Curry are dominating the 2v2.
And they should be. They should be dominating that 2v2. I mean, with Titan, I mean, look, both of them kind of opted into some later power, right, with the Cull versus the Tier, so no clear advantage kind of early on. But also first objectives traded, I should say, as Pain do grab the first 3 grubs. Shinny grabs the first Dragon of the day. Will not be either Ocean or Cloud Soul when that does go on. But so far, RMC, yeah, not really a ton. No real advantages, kind of taking one way or the other. Oh, I say that Titan definitely using his range advantage to his benefit.
Yeah, and you talk about the call. I'm glad you brought it up, because when your Misfortune has to pick up a call, that's not a good sign.
No.
Misfortune is supposed to be more of a lane dominant AD carry, especially against something like an Ezreal as well, where Ezreal has to land those mystic shots. If you're not landing your mystic shots through waves, through minions, it's a skill shot. If you can't land it, you're not going to win the lane, which is kind of to be expected. Whereas Misfortune just walks up, you know, makes it rain, and then if she gets a double tap, then you're in trouble, right? So a double up, then you're in massive trouble. So Titan shouldn't be winning this, but he is. And Root going that call does mean also that they won't have pressure. They are going to fall behind in terms of damage as well. And for Pain, we're looking at their all skill and composition. Who's the lane that's going to tide you through the early game? Because Carioca as an Ivern as well, he's not going to tide you through the early game. He's just going to throw you a shield or two. And Titan Curry have just mechanically forced an advantage and said, okay, we will be the winning lane that we can play through by brute force. Not because we picked the champions for it, but just because we are better.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail right on the head, right? Just because we are going to play better. This isn't a matchup that we necessarily should be winning, or especially with the Alistar, right? You've got easy engage, right? Braum wants to play backwards. That's the whole shtick with him. There's a reason that this pairing is so deadly. Robo still has the equalizer. Shinny wants to go all in here, but Wiser going to pop his ultimate as well. Shinny going over the wall with the Ishtal's impact. Going to walk on a ward. He's sitting right on it. He has no idea that Carioca knows he's right there, but they're going to try off the dive. Carioca is level 6. They do have Daisy should they want to do it. There goes the Root Caller. They're going to find Shinny. Here comes Daisy. Wiser doing a little bit of damage here. If Weezy can get those 3 hits. Big impale to cut it all off, but Romer coming in. Is it enough? They get Shinny. Robo next on the menu. Maybe. It's not quite enough. Right place, right time for Romer, man.
And for Loud, it's in his name. He literally tells you he's a roamer. They did not pay attention to that. Got punished. Root.
Oh, that is a toughie.
Wait, Titan,
but he gets it back. Root. Is that 2? Oh, I thought he was going to get 2. Man, it's a 1-for-1, and he thinned out the wave with the ultimate. That's how I'm going to spin that one. Man, oh, man, that could have been really ugly.
Yeah, and honestly, I want to replay that because it's hilarious. Titan screwed it up. We were just praising Titan and Curry. Titan didn't drop the turret aggro. He thought he left the range and dropped the aggro. He didn't. So he actually ate an extra turret shot, which got him killed before he could take down Root. And because they couldn't take down Root, Curry had to stay longer under that turret. I really do hope they show a replay on that because it's quite funny.
They have to.
They have
to.
No, they start at the top side. And what I highlight on the top side is the fact that Wiser actually ends up with exhaust by the time the second half of the fight comes down. So as we talked about Carioca being here first, but Wiser has the exhaust. So whether or not Romer comes up is irrelevant. The moment this happened, the moment they split and Robo couldn't go past the turret to back up Shinny, they were dead to rights. Robo thinks he can look for something here. Exhaust goes down immediately, and they were just were not going to win that. And that's huge for Wiser. He gets to kind of equalize a rough start to the lane. Now here, this was great from Creature Titan. We've seen this plenty of times. They recognize, hey, there's an option here to go for the dive. But Titan turret, aggro, thought he dropped it right there. That step back just wasn't quite enough. And because of that, Curry has to commit a bit harder, burn the flash to get out. If not, maybe Curry actually gets out without even having to burn the flash if Titan was able to get one more auto down.
So it's 2-2 right now. Loud, they're giving as good as they're getting. Like you said, it didn't go amazingly in the top side, but Root came up with a huge kill there. Able to grab that one kind of by the skin of his teeth off, again, a mistake by Titan. But really, really good stuff from both sides, really, right? I mean, Loud still has to take advantage of these little missteps that Pain are taking, but Pain still feel in control of this one, especially, again, on the back of Titan. When you've got him, you've always got an option. And as this game goes on, like we've said kind of ad nauseum, right, Roamer's only going to get bigger. Wiser, we saw what Bull did, right, when having a bit of a nothing early game, and then you just find that one fight, and then all of a sudden, oh no, Gwen is a raid boss, and the game is kind of over. Might be a little fisticuffs here. Daisy is out. Gonna get the stun there onto Shinny. Equalizer comes out. That's pretty big, but Titan really not eating any of it at all. He's still free firing, but doesn't have a completed item yet. Wiser coming in hot, and he gets into the back line. The Shurima shuffle with the setup for the bullet time is massive. Root gets 2. He's out of mana and he's out of the fight, but right now a 2 for 2 as the Shrew Shot Barrage comes through, and we are still all knotted up.
And this is what every Loud and Pain fan fears, and every other Brazilian or LTA South fan, LATAM included now, wants to see. Blow for blow, both teams are delivering. We get to see how Wiser finds a beautiful flank with the TP into the backline. Those great mechanics, great tactical play, but Root getting the bullet time off, and that was without setup, by the way, right? We saw the equalizer come down early. Shinny's Impale had also been used prior to that fight, but just getting in the right position, knowing that Pain wants to commit, wants to chase, and getting all that damage down, that's beautiful. The start of this fight, by the way, Daisy MVP, right? Stops Shinny from actually finding the back line, and Pain splits, which is good because you don't want to be sitting on that equalizer. The problem is what happens after this. Wiser gets in the back line. Root just walks off to the side again. No setup right here, right? Just finds a beautiful bullet time onto people going after Shinny, onto the jungler, onto the tank, knowing that, hey, he's kind of low, but he's going to be tanky enough to hold you there in place. Now, fight is done. Grubs is being taken by Shinny. I do believe, I don't believe Pain got any of those, but Pain will get the dragon instead. So we've seen the Grubs and the dragons split perfectly and kills perfectly.
Well, they should get the dragon. Karioka making his way up to the top. Or no, they did. No, they did get the. Yes. Okay, I'm caught up now. Thank you. All right, there we go. Excuse me. And I think in that last fight too, Wiser got there just in time. So I was a little worried about Titan, right? Because he was, like you said, they split, which is great. He didn't eat any of the equalizer. See the total goal there. The 80 carries are the richest members, but there was an opening for 3 members of Loud to just jump on him, but they couldn't. Like you said, Daisy kind of held off Shinny, and they had to make that choice. And in the time it took them to make that choice, Wiser TPs into the backline, and all of a sudden they've got bigger fish to fry, right? They've got to deal with this Gwen, who, again, you cannot let her get going because she's just a ticking time bomb of a champion, especially in the hands of someone like Wiser, who can put the carry pants on at any given moment, right? Pain Gaming, they've got, I mean, like Loud, to be fair, but I think Pain to a little higher degree, 3 guys that can say, all right, give me the goddamn ball, I'm going to go get us a bucket.
Yep. And that's why I love when Karioka is on something like an Ivern, not necessarily because I think Karioka does best on Ivern, I think he does best on Maokai, but it's more just that it fits the playstyle of this team so incredibly well. And now Roamer being an actual huge carry threat as well, I think is perfect. Wiser just hunting down Robo. He misses to the needle works.
Yeah, you're going to get punished for that. And Robo actually trying to punish him real hard for it as the equalizer does come down. Flamesplitter comes down. The exhausted into the flash. It's enough. Robo with the solo bolo. Yeah, you can't miss 2 out of 3 of Needleworks. That's not going to go well for you.
Nope. Well, that's one carry that's shut down for Pain for the next little while.
Yep.
For Loud as well, they are starting to come into their power spike. One thing we should note about that last fight was that neither team was actually in their power spikes, right? Pain wants to skill up a lot more. They were still sitting on a lot of their tiers. They are waiting for their 2-3 item power spike to come through. Loud, on the other hand, they needed their first items. Root did that without the Bloodthirster. They picked up the Bloodthirster after that fight. Now that he does have the Bloodthirster, now that the Leandries is probably going to be completed for Robo, Loud are in their actual power spike, and I want to see them play to it. We get to see the fight, and it's just straightforward. Start by Wiser. And I think you should have just exhausted at some point during this fight, maybe just to get the slow, to get your needlework down.
Yeah, make it easier to hit the ults, exactly.
Yeah, and instead he waits here far too late. You're already slowed down. Even if you exhaust, you're dead. There's just no way that you're going to be able to survive that. Even without that flash out from Robo, I think if he lands a Harpoon from max range, equally done. And the exhaust gets wasted, redemption gets wasted, and the Loud fans are just... Funny too, we didn't see too many Loud fans in the pregame, huh? But now that they're popping off...
No, yeah, exactly. Yep. what is it called? The Desaposentados and Desaposentados e Perigo. Is he gonna get another one? There's no way. He doesn't have his ultimate, so you can't. Oh my goodness, dude. Wow. Man, they both came back with a full item, but man, oh man, Robo's just he is making it happen. He's the man with a plan. By the way, that sign, basically it said retired. It said unretired and dangerous. So that's what that Loud fan. That fair enough. That's great signage.
I wonder if that's like about Loud as a whole after the split that they kind of just bungled, or is that about Shinny, or is that about Ripper? Because
I think it's about both of them, right? Both these guys, right? They didn't have a team last split, and they just said, "All right, old men, we did not like our experience with the Koreans and the Korean Americans. You two, come here."
Yeah, come back and start carrying our team. But right now, it's not them. It's Robo, arguably the GOAT of Brazil right now. The most successful man in Brazil with the most championships under his belt from the CBLOL days. Wants to get an LTA championship of his own, and he's crushing it now. Shinny backing him out. No exhaust available for Weiser. He dodges the Impale.
Whiffs the Impale, but now the Equalizer going to take Karaoke out of this fight, but it's not enough. Pain goes forward and able to get onto Shinny. Here comes Redbird trying to lay down some CC. If Root can auto space very well, he might have a shot in this one. The chance come up. The stun is too much. Glacial Fissure helps Weiser run into not one, but 2 kills. Make it 3, and this is exactly the scenario Loud needed to avoid. Weiser is large and in charge, brother.
Yeah, Weiser able to equalize that. If I'm Robo at this point, I'm telling Shinny, please don't come to my lane. Every time you show up in my lane, Weiser gets kills. And to be fair, it's not just it's Pain just rotating down to back him up. Weiser TPing to top to deal with Tinones. Tinones gets the turret, but can he get out alive? Probably not.
Well, I don't know, man. Emperor's Divide bought him some time. Oh, 50 feet! Oh! And it wasn't even the true shot barrage. He got the shutdown. All right, well, all right. We're gonna wind back a couple of our last couple phrases. Weiser, he got styled on by the Azir. I didn't have that on my bingo card.
No, I didn't. I'm shocked. I really didn't think Tinones was going to be able to get out alive, but yeah, he just solo outplayed that. Okay, so it looks like the backbone's starting to wake up right now. We've seen Root get an epic bullet time. We've seen now Robo dominates lane. Tinones outplay a 1v1. It does feel like Loud has options to play. The scary part though is it still feels like Pain is playing the better macro game. They are rotating better, and this replay is case in point, right? Look at who's showing up and how they're showing up feels more important. Karaoke getting there first, under the turret, saving that. Root and Ripbird show up, but it's the timing of it's a little bit unfortunate. And instead, Curry gets in here, and Curry just goes hard onto Root. Like, everything just gets dumped on Root to make sure that they secure that kill. And Roamer coming down as well, while Tinones is split pushing top. I think that makes a massive difference. I want to highlight too, Tinones had TP. He could have joined the fight to try and turn it. Instead, the call was like, I'm sitting up here, I'm taking the turret. And it does feel like that's been the story of Loud this year, whether it was Winsome and Wiz or whether it's Shinny and Ripper. It's just the team is not playing together, and specifically Robo and Tinones are not necessarily at the fights they need to be at.
Now they have a 200 gold lead. Like you said, RMC. Pain, I think, are playing the better macro game. I agree. Loud taking advantage of any little slip-ups they could get, right? Outplaying the 1v1s. The old men have hands. That's the one thing that they still unfortunately do have. Unfortunately, I guess it depends on who you're...
What? Unfortunate,
man.
Only if you have arthritis, okay. Yeah, maybe the hands are unfortunate. But
Robo and Tinones, no, they're putting the team on their back right now. They really are. But it's been a good all-around performance. As they start up this Dragon here, should be pretty much uncontested, so... I'm going to take this time to plug all our socials, right? In LTA South, you can scroll down.
It's contesting for.
Oh, they are contesting. So they are. All right, well, afterwards, I will let you know how you can support us, like Pain, or supporting the rest of their members, and thanking, or like Loud is supporting Pain, giving them a little leash. Bullet time goes out, Gwen is immune, and that's all she wrote. All right,
okay,
as I was saying,
think now you've got time for the plug.
Yeah, real quick. Scroll down on the Twitch page, and you can get the link to our community Discord. We've got an LTA South Fantasy League that we started up in there. It might be too late to join on if you know how it works after the first week has started, but you will find lots of passionate LTA South fans from all around the world discussing the leagues, the games, the teams, the players, etc. We got a lot of players that know a lot of people, a lot of content watchers that know a lot about the scene and some things that we may not know about. They help us out a lot. Our Twitter, please follow along there. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you are so able, we're doing this all for free. So we do this for the love of the game. If you can support us in any way, it really does help. Thank you very, very much. Back into this one, RMC. What a lovely, lovely gold craft.
It's a fun one for sure.
Yes.
I think it does tell the story of this game. I love the gold graphs too because a lot of times the scale doesn't tell the story. It looks like a roller coaster, but I don't think the gold difference has exceeded 1,000.
No, exactly. No, that's what I was going to point out. Is like the upper limit was 800 and the lower limit was like minus 1,000, right? So the biggest swing overall has been 2,000 gold. Not the lead, the swing. So this has been a very, very tightly contested game.
And that actually makes me a little bit worried for Loud because we talked about there are power points in the game. Problem is they don't scale. So if they're not getting significant leads in the early game, it only gets harder. Curry misses the ultimate. Redbird's going
Redbird with a massive headbutt pulverize. Robo going in, gets a big old equalizer and a big old impale as well. The CC chain is massive. It allows Tiddos and Robo to pop off. Wiser in there, but it's a little too late. Can he get onto Root? He flashes away. He gets one, but not before he is cut down himself by Root.
I don't know what Root did to Payne's Koreans, but now that's Curry and Wiser we've seen go hard trying to finish him off. And sure, they do get Root, but at what cost, right? Loud still has Robo and Tinones. The two players we're saying kind of put the team on their back right now alive, and they are going for this Atakan, or at least it's Shinny and Tinones going for that while Robo is pushing into the mid lane. Romer with the TP just to clear the way, but there's no way they can stop this Atakan take.
No, there's absolutely no way. There's nothing they can do here. And good on Payne, or good on Loud, I should say, for immediately going for that objective. Give themselves a little extra padding, a little more gold there. But what an engage there by Redbird. Saw it, went in, headbutt pulverized, still held on to his flash, not for nothing. And then Shinny with the CC chain from Loud was awesome.
Yeah, and it comes off Payne actually looking for the aggression, right? You see Titans up poking, and Curry thought he found the angle, but when he uses that Glacial Fissure, Ripper just sidesteps it and sees the return angle, and unfortunately, Titan didn't realize that was going to happen. Titan thought, okay, well, I'm just going to follow up with my support with Curry, but he ends up getting pulverized by Ripper, and that's when everything starts to go wrong, right? Suddenly, Titan's out of the fight. Wiser can't really get in there, and you know, by the time he TPs in, he's got to give his life to make that happen, and Romer was not able to output sufficient damage because Titan got popped immediately. So for Payne, a bit of a misstep. It's going to set them significantly behind, and it buys Loud so much more time to try and get back into the game. At the 2-item power spikes, the teams are pretty even. After this, once we start hitting 3rd items and beyond, Payne really starts to get an advantage, but the fact that Loud are able to hit their spike a little bit sooner, maybe even hit their 3-item power spike a little bit sooner, gives them time to actually contest not just for Baron, but even potentially for Soul later on. And if they can get Soul fast enough, heck, for Loud, they might even want to try and give away those dragons to Payne, get Payne to take them early, and contest for Elder instead. Because if it drags on much longer, Elder starts to favor Payne.
Yeah, 100%. It's still a 1,000 gold lead. Still not all that much. Loud, they do... some of them still have the Altacan buff, right? I don't think it's worn off just yet. But maybe it... Does it actually wear... I actually don't know. Yeah, does it actually wear off? Or is it just next time you die?
So some parts of it, I know for sure last forever. I don't know about... I think the GA portion does wear off.
Yeah, the GA. But... Yeah, okay. I would think so, because that'd be kind of crazy. You could just kind of wait the game out, and then... Yeah, like, I think the purpose of the Altacan is to say, okay, now you can be a little more aggressive, right? And if it just lasted forever, that completely disincentivizes it. Payne, in a bit of a tough spot here, but again, just a 1,000 gold deficit. Their composition absolutely scales a little bit better. They can team fight a little bit better as well and output just insane amounts of damage. Actually, I don't know. The team fighting, I think, is about even as far as just kind of, fighting front to back, what the compositions can do. But Payne absolutely have the higher ceiling in terms of late game damage. Game's hit a bit of a lull here at about that 20-some minute mark. We will get a fight around Baron eventually at about a minute 20. It's going to spawn. RMC, what's going well for Loud, though? I mean, like you said, Payne, they, as the game goes on, Elder favors Payne, right? They are a better team. I don't think anyone's really questioning that. But Loud, I mean, in the beginning, it was they were taking advantage of mistakes. What's gone well for them in the mid game?
Well, I was actually going to ask you, for unfortunately, you got the question first. Do we think Loud is fixing their problems from yesterday, or do we think Payne has fallen off from yesterday? Because the game has been so even. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I do think Loud's team fighting. Oh my goodness, hold up. Wiser is going all the way in onto Robo. He might have been off more than he could shoot. The CC doesn't land there from Curry, but Gwen is immune. He's still missing those needleworks. Big old ultimate bombo combo, but Curry grabs himself a massive wall, saves the rest of his team. He will be the sacrificial lamb, but now giving Titan an opportunity to go forward, get onto Robo. Maybe he can hit that a mystic shot. No, will flash away. They Payne get the dragon. Curry saves the day. Romer making sure that Robo has no other designs other than to get the heck out of dodge. Okay, it all worked out, But if not for that Curry wall, that could have been a much different fight.
Yeah, and Curry actually had to die to kind of save the rest of his team. Like, normally you use the Glacial Fissure as well to interrupt the bullet time, but because he kind of had to pop it very, very early on, he had to use the Unbreakable instead and actually soak the entire bullet time, hence going down for the team. But he did it, whatever. And I think that's the most important thing. All his carries were alive. Pain do pick up the dragon on the back end of it. Loud, though, what a beautiful engage for them. Weiser goes over that wall, I feel like almost prematurely. You're looking for flanks. Gwen should not be your engage. She has no CC for it. She has no health bar for it. But Weiser forced it, and that gave Shinny the ability to actually set up a beautiful impale into both Equalizer and bullet time. Full duration goes off, and that had to be a lack of vision or a mistake. Like, I don't know why Weiser's hopping over. You know there are multiple members there, and you know they can get to you faster than your team can get to you. The setup, though, was beautiful. And you're right there. Oh, the layering of all the AoE. Problem is, you get a perfect ultimate. You get a perfect wombo combo, and only the support goes down. What happens now, right? Like, Misfortune's not great at sustaining damage. Tinons is forced out earlier in the fight. Yeah, that's a horrific sign for Loud that you got the perfect scenario and couldn't find the kills.
Yep, especially when it is just kind of that one ability that's not even an ultimate, right? That's why you draft the Braum into these Misfortune comps, right? It's just so easy to negate what they want to do. And, I mean, I guess they're just lucky that, I mean, Weiser bought enough time to where, like, you know, Curry didn't have to go in and just, like, bail everybody out, right? Didn't have to sacrifice himself early. Because on the margins, right, that wasn't the best play from Pain. It worked out beautifully for them. But like I said, I think Loud on the margins have been fighting better as a team, right? That was very well executed by them. They did everything right, but Pain responded at the last second very, very well. And we still are in a deadlock here. Now, Pain, they do have soul points. So in 3 minutes, that Mountain Soul is going to be big. A lot of combat power in that to, again, just these longer sustained fights. It's really going to favor them.
And very mixed feelings for Loud in terms of losing that dragon. If Pain get Mountain Soul, we already saw that they're struggling right now to actually burst through Pain in a composition that is very front-loaded with the Rumble, with the Misfortune. So on one hand, you don't want to give that over, but if you don't give that over for if Loud had actually picked up the Mountain Drake, I think they've got problems in terms of trying to get Elder to be able to close out the game, right? If they can't get Elder, if Elder spawns at 40 minutes or 40 plus 50 minutes, right? Pain are going to be very, very happy. They're going to be sat pretty at that point. They're going to have all their skilling in their pocket. So Loud want to accelerate that Elder, but they don't want to give over Mountain Soul. And now the only answer Loud has is they need to accelerate their game pace as well. They need to get more gold somehow, and that means winning team fights. Trading 1-for-1 is not enough for Loud. 1,000 gold advantage at 27 minutes, that is minuscule. That is irrelevant. And getting the turret, maybe that'll be enough.
You see the total damage graph on the left. It is Weiser and Titan by a mile, and then everybody else, right? Roamer really hasn't had the impact that he's wanted to in this game, but hey, still deathless, right? Still playing kind of, you know, playing solid, all things considered. And to be fair, look, when you have an Ezreal and a Gwen, you don't need your mid laner to also be just like printing damage, right? You have enough. You just need to be a bit of a nuisance, right? Be, you know, another target. You know, it's a tough champion to execute. Quirky, right? Just being so short range, you have to really be kind of know this champion, know its power points and stuff. But Titan and Weiser are doing more than enough to have Pain win this game. Karioka and Curry especially having really good games. This is what we wanted, man, out of these two teams. Like you said, if you're a fan of either one of these teams, you are wetting yourself right now. This is not good. This is not fun viewing. But if you aren't a fan of any of these teams, this is awesome, right? 21 kills in 28 minutes, absolutely, just that it's awesome stuff. And the old men of Loud, the last dance of all these players, a combined 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, I think 18 titles on this team. It is so many. Actually, might be as many as 20, because I don't actually know how many. I think she just has the one. Redbird's got 3. Tenon's with 6. Robo with 7. Root with 3. There's so much experience on this team, man.
And Root's probably the one who's played least in South America, and yet he's already got 3 titles. There's more than a lot of South Americans have, unfortunately. Despite playing longer in the region. And yeah, Pain, they're setting up for Baron. I like the call. They're not too worried about Dragon right now. That's not the rush. Weiser just picking the easy turret right now in the top lane, just kind of getting gold. And he's going to start split pushing at this point. Robo cannot match the same way. And even just with this trio in the mid lane, Curry, Titan, Karioka, it's so hard to type them because that's not 3 members. That's 4 members. Daisy is sitting in Karioka's back pocket.
Ooh, apologies, bad time for a yawn there. Yeah, no, Weiser can't be matched, right? Robo's gonna go over there and just, you know, match like the wave clear, right? But in terms of 1v1 combat power, let's not kid ourselves here. To be fair, Robo is up half an item. as far right now, anyway. I think Weiser might have some gold in his pocket that he's got to take advantage of. They go immediately onto the Baron here, and this could be where the game starts to get interesting. Pain have flipped the gold lead, 2,000 gold, actually, most recently. They're up 1,000 now. Shinny blows the Ishtal's impact. Impale not on the menu just yet. They delay. Redbird is pretty low, does have the Unbreakable still. I want to say, yes, he does indeed. But neither team comfortable pulling the trigger just yet. And Loud, with that, kind of pinning Pain in that upper quadrant of the map. They're going to start off this Dragon and avoid Soul for at least another 5 minutes.
And Pain are fine. They're pinned there by their own choice. They want to go for Baron. And now that they know that Loud is committed to this, they actually have enough damage. We talk about Roamer not having put out damage in team fights. Well, he's got LDR completed. He's got all the items to shred something if he can actually stick onto them. Shinny having to run up here. Tinones has TP.
Yeah, Tinones has TP. Bullet Time going to do a little bit of work here. Shinny's got to get into the pit. Loud got over there in a
great
hurry.
equalizer.
The equalizer, that is fantastic. Who's going to walk away with the Baron? Weiser and Shinny. It is going to be Karaoke, but now Tinones gets the kill onto Roamer. Robo buys some time with the stopwatch. Big damage from Weiser, my goodness, but he's got no one else to help him out. He buys enough time, goes into an Iron Push, and now Pain are going to turn this fight around. They've got Loud heading for the hills. Shinny has to flash away. Weiser going forward with a hop, skip, and a jump. Maybe he can get over the wall. Blast Cone going to help them out just a little bit. Weiser will finally stop the chase. Loud maybe looking for a pick here on the back end. Shinny, man, he wanted that really badly. Pain, they get it. Loud actually got back to the Baron pit quicker than I thought they would. I thought that Baron was done and dusted for Pain. But after all that, it's a 1-for-0. It's a kill for a Baron. Pain take that trade any day.
Yeah, and I think for Loud, that's where the experience shows, right? Like they started moving even before Dragon was done, and they just left Tinones to finish it off because they know that he's got the TP, and they didn't want to give Baron over. Now, the Baron fight itself was also very, very well executed by Loud. They get the ultimates, not completely synced up, but they actually stagger it, but try and force Pain out the pit. The bullet time already forces most members out. Why just the only one sitting in the back? And then the equalizer in this choke point was, I think, the biggest part, the most massive part. Redbird is desperately trying to screen. They buy Shinny all the time in the world to actually get the Baron, but he couldn't win the smite fight. They do get Roamer on the back end as sort of a consolation prize, but frankly for Loud, it was such a risky situation. Robo, I think, was the biggest part. They didn't show that part. Instead, they opted to show the fist bump from Titan. But hold up, we're right into action again.
Shitty is pretty low. Equalizer again, just forcing everybody off. Tinones flash Shurima shuffle. That is huge. The bounce house comes through.
Okay.
Tinones with a massive Emperor's Divide to send this game a little bit further. Pain slowing down their Baron push just a little bit.
And it might just have put out killed the Baron push 4-4. And with the numbers advantage, well, Loud's actually the one who's going to be pushing in right now, taking an inner turret. Can they get onto the inhibitor turret? Weiser does not have TP and has not left the bot lane. He's still pushing.
Oh my goodness, Titan playing with fire here, but now Daisy
mana.
being summoned. Yeah, no, he's got no mana. That bullet time comes through. Daisy disrupt things. Weiser going forward, and now Pain have a shot here. Shinny might be the one that buys his team time to get away, and that is indeed what's going to happen. Titan gets a shutdown. That is huge. Weiser not done just yet. He's blown all 3 charges of the needlework. It wasn't enough. Titan with the true shot barrage. Redbird smart to it and takes one little sidestep to save his life.
Okay, but I do think Loud has accomplished their mission, which is they completely stifled the Baron push. Weiser
100%.
only gets a push on the bot side, and that was all. We get to see how the fight started off, and it was Peyton setting up with a 4-1 split push, but Shinny coming in from the side there. And once again, it's Robo. It's the equalizer. Not with setup, but used as the engage to get Tinones into there to buy space. And Robo and Tinones, it's the veterans. It's the guys who have been here the longest who are still clutching it out. They've always been Pain's curse. And even now, even with the team struggling, they continue to be a sticking point for Pain.
They're a thorn in their side, man. I mean, they had won them their most recent title besides last year. And then they just tormented them for 3 years until finally Pain got over the hump. Still up 2,000 gold, to be fair. That Baron push wasn't what they wanted, but as far as gold lead, they're actually doing okay. But yeah, Loud, look, the Soul is going to be the next point, right? That's going to be the next big one here. Weiser, he's on 3.5 items. I think he'd love to get that Void Staff done before all is said and done, but I don't know if he will have that time. He is level 18, and now he's recalling. To get him with that, with the shred on top of the true damage, boy oh boy. I mean, Weiser, he and Titan, they've got to clutch up here right now, right? I mean, continue to play is fundamentally sound, play where you should. Loud, they are, it seems like, just kind of taking advantage of some missteps by Pain, which haven't been many, but Loud still have to, take advantage of them. I don't think Loud, aside from maybe you could say that Baron play, they haven't done anything like insanely proactive to go forward.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement to make. They're not proactive, but I do think they've been clutching up and they've actually been mechanically outplaying in amazing ways individually, but certainly not off the engages that you picked Shinny and Redbird for. Like, where are the engages from Shinny and Redbird?
Yeah, oh my goodness, another big Emperor's Divide gets Korea to the back line, but Weiser gets dumped onto Root,
On the carries,
and that
though.
could be the death sentence here. Pain playing this fight backwards very, very nicely, with Weiser still alive. He goes forward, gets a double kill, and that was an ill-fated Emperor's Divide. It sealed their fate. Titan popping off, as he should. He said, all right, you want to give me that kill, old man? Here you go. Shutdown, ace, massive fight for Pain Gaming.
Yeah, and it feels like that particular fight, they didn't respect Titan. They went for Roamer instead. When previously, it's go after Titan. Roamer's not the big carry. They went for Roamer, and this time Titan made them pay the price. Pain Gaming without dropping a body in the last fight, pushing in as a 6-man unit. Daisy tanking this one up. Pain get bragging rights, at least, to the next stage.
Man, oh man. I definitely want to get another look at that fight. That one kind of took me by surprise. I did not expect Loud to pull the trigger there. It worked the first time, so you understand why they wanted to the second time. But Loud now dropped to 0-2. Let's talk Loud a little bit here, as we were kind of wrapping up on them. Look, they took advantage of some stuff. Like you said, they were opportunistic. They clutched up, like you said, in some team fights. They had good mechanics as well, and they were the better team for portions of this game. So I think if you're a Loud fan, you can rest a little easier tonight knowing that, okay, that Red performance, that isn't what we're going to get kind of, for the rest of our splits here. And crucially, for Shinny, right? He had a really good performance on the Skarner, had some massive impales, found some good angles. So the things that you're worried about as far as that, from that Red performance, love that.
I recognize that one. I missed in KO too, man.
I miss, yeah, exactly. But you're breathing a little easier if you're Loud, and you know that, look, Pain are a better team than you. If you don't think otherwise, you're deluded. I'm sorry. Like, Pain are a better team. Loud had a big opportunity there. They could have, tried to close that out, but Pain, at the end of the day, they survive and advance.
Yeah, and I think Pain, as a Pain fan out this year, a little bit worried about how that game went and how close it was. But on the other hand, I do think Pain played it the way it was meant to be. And that fight, that last fight we saw, was just a matter of time. It happened in 35 minutes. If not at 35, it happened at 40. Like, the skilling was just in their favor. They're starting to hit 4 or 5 items at that point. And the shielding was just getting too massive from Carioca for you to be able to deal with. Weiser had Zhonya's in pocket, didn't have to use it that time. But the fact that all these sort of extra lives are starting to come in was massive for Pain. For Loud, though, forever, I'm not that optimistic. They put up a great game, fantastic individual performances, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing the Shinny Redbird combo coming through. They weren't proactive, and I think that's a great thing that you pointed out. They're playing well in the fights, but they're not proactive. And you picked Shinny and Redbird. We already said before this game that I don't think Loud are going to crumble the way they did against Red, but I suspect either we're going to see them not engage because Shinny is holding himself back to match Robo and Tinones, or we're going to see Shinny go in and Robo and Tinones are not going to full send with him, and we're going to get a little bit of a split performance. Better than yesterday, but I wasn't expecting them to, come together as a unit. I'm still not seeing that. Today, it felt like Shinny and Redbird were holding back way, way, way too much. Like, we've seen Shinny drive Fluxu before last year. He goes every single time there's an angle. Today, a lot more measured play, for better or for worse. And in this case, I don't think that's the problem, but I'm not seeing the solution just yet.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, it was going to be, it was going to take some time to kind of, integrate these guys, right? You're bringing 2 big pieces in, and like you said, the Croc was always that go button, right?
Yes.
for that. For better or worse, Croc was the go button for Loud. He brought that chaos factor, and Shinny and Redbird, for all the good things that they can bring, chaos factor isn't one of them, right? And that was what worked for Loud for 4 splits in a row. They won titles, they kind of sleepwalked through a lot of the CB LOL. It was despite them never finishing in first in the regular season, that's another stat I love to throw around. During their dynasty, they never finished in first in the regular season, but they won the titles all the same. Yeah, I agree with you, RMC. Look, they haven't hit their final form yet, or, I'll put it this way. Maybe they have hit their final form, but they have room to grow, right? Like you said, Shinny and Redbird have more to bring to the table, and they're going to have to if Loud want to be a top 4 team, which I think realistically is all you can expect in the short term if you're a Loud fan. Is, look, can we be top 4? Can we solidify this new version of this roster and go from there? For Pain, look, A+, right? Maybe not A+. Yep. I'll say A. I'll say A-.
I'll get them S tier, like I did in the Green Gold Silver Round tier list.
They are very good. They smothered Asurus Estral. They held their own here against Loud, and they came up clutch when it mattered. And they're 2-0 at the end of the day. And Loud are 0-2. They're on opposite ends of the spectrum right now. There is still a chance they could fall in the same group, which I think is hilarious. Like, there's a very real world where Pain finishes first, Loud finishes 4-5, and they end up in the same group. and then and with Fluxu W7M. So it's going to be a very interesting group. That group could be a banger. It could be Isurus, Loud, Pain, Fluxu. That could be an actual group, which would be insane for so many reasons. RMC, I'll give you a couple minutes here to hype up Pain. What did you like from them, and then we'll send the good people home.
I think they are just playing to the win cons, and I love to see that. I think Titan especially is a player. I think Weiser won the MVP has been given the MVP, but I think Titan is terrifying. The way he's playing right now, the way he's stepping up on the Ezreal to get the poke down is absolutely incredible. Against Isurus Estral as well on the Misfortune, he was actually zoning off the entire enemy team by walking up, and I think that confidence, that's peak Titan. That's what we want to see. I love that he's in that mode, and I'm hoping that he is able to maintain that. But for question for you as well. Today, I think has been a fantastic, one of the best days of LTA South.
Good day. Good
games
day.
you've seen at all. Epic games. Which was your favorite series for the day?
Ooh, hold on. Give me a second here. Make sure I'm not.
Furia is Ancestral,
Anything.
where Furia managed to pull out the win. Red versus Evo Cade Stars,
Red
where
versus
we started
Cade.
off with Mago getting the kill and then everything
I
falling
didn't
apart
really
after.
like that one. I mean, I don't know. I'll say. I mean, either the Furia game or the Fluxu game, because I think you saw good stuff from Fluxu. You saw that they took it to a better team. You see signs of life from Fluxu because they were very much on the trajectory of being just the league's punching bag, and just like no, this team can't do right for doing wrong. But Furia, I am glad that we can, at least look. I understand that it's this is team potential. They don't actually do anything. Oh, good underlying numbers, good macro, but they can't win a gosh darn game. They gotta win over. Exactly. They gotta win over Isurus Estral. So look, they still might be team potential, but we can hold that conversation off for at least another week because they took down a very good team in Isurus Estral. I think the big storyline I'm watching going into week 2 is what sort of performance are we going to see from Isurus Estral, right? They're probably their 2 easiest games coming up next week, Fluxu and Cade. Those are 2 very winnable games. You have to beat Fluxu. I'm sorry. If you are the reigning champions, you have to beat Fluxu. And then, if you at least give Cade a good game, then, you're going to be okay. But that's my kind of big takeaway that I'm looking at is Isurus, they haven't looked like themselves.
Yeah, fair enough. So lots of questions yet to go, but an amazing end to this week. And 4x4, yeah, it was a fun blast. And I cannot wait for next week to start coming through. And just to think, by the end of next week, we'll be more than halfway through the split, or the first phase of the split as well.
Yeah, so the games are coming thick and fast. Every game matters for seeding in these group phase, in these these positioning phases they're calling it, and then the group stage, and then the elimination/qualification stage, and then playoffs. Hopefully, we don't have to explain a new format every split as we enter into a hopefully more stable era of League of Legends all around the world. But we hope that you will stick here with us for all of it. For our producer, for our community manager, for everyone in the chat, for TDS, that is RMC. This is 4x4. We will see you next week. Bye.